everybody. What is going on? What is going on? Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, I was a little worried for a second because YouTube, it looks like they changed, unless I'm mistaken, YouTube looks like they changed their UI for streams, so I got a little worried there that this wouldn't work. Alright. Alright. How are we all doing? What is going on? Really good chapter, right? Really good chapter. I got a lot of thoughts. First of all, Ian, welcome to Pirate King tier. Thank you very, very, very much for your support. I really appreciate it. You're lucky the Pirate King podcast just dropped, I think like yesterday. So definitely go check that out. It's a podcast this one was like an hour and almost 40 minutes long. And I answered a shit ton of questions. Pirate King podcast, for those of you who don't know, is me basically going through every Pirate King member can submit a question about One Piece, other TV, anime, movies, blah, 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 real life, yada, yada, yada. Anything, right? And you submit anything. And I go through and answer every single person's question very in-depth, usually more in-depth than I can on streams, just because I've got pretty much unlimited time on the Pirate King podcast. So thank you very much for the support, man. Definitely go check out the Pirate King podcast, and then you can submit for next month's. At the end of this month. Carnage, thanks for the 10. Most interesting part of this chapter for me is Saturn saying that we risk something else being unleashed. I want to see the Viz translation, or is there like a Sandman translation or something like that out there? I want to understand what he means by that. Is it literal, or is it like figurative? Considering God Valley was home to the Davy clan, it's probably something to do with Davy Jones. Yeah, I think that would be really, really sick. Carnage also followed up. Also, I think that will lead to Roger versus Rocks. YouTube's changed their whole UI. I don't like this. I can't see. Okay, let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. What the fuck is this shit? Why did they do this? This is genuinely terrible. Why? What the fuck? Why would they do this? I can't see anything. I can't see viewer number. I can't see stream likes unless I switch tabs. You guys don't understand what I'm struggling with right now. I kind of hate this. Okay, let's get Streamlights up to 50. I got to switch tabs whenever I want to see views or stream likes and things like that. Fading Phase, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 7 months. Seeing Rocks, Whitebeard, and Kaido facing the world literally gave me chills. Yeah, too bad Oda hit Big Mom with the misogyny bagua, because it would have been nice to see her in the panel too. P.S. Garling is a fraud. Okay, time out. There's so much to unpack from this chapter. Okay? Kaido being in that panel is really cool. Just the dragon imagery, that's always going to be sick. Kaido's introduction... So Kaido's got a unique status in One Piece in that, like, if you were to do, like, a top 10 character introductions in One Piece, Kaido would probably make that top 10 list twice. First in chapter 795 with his first introduction, and then I think again with his dragon introduction in, like, I think 921. So Kaido's dragon form is always sick. And Kaido must be feeling good. Like, he waited so long for a devil fruit, and then the first one that he gets is literally one of the best devil fruits ever, right? The panel with them facing the world is amazing. Calling Imu the world is amazing. This was Rox's run back with Imu, which I thought that he might never get. Like, at the beginning of his flashback, because we didn't know Imu would show up at God Valley, right? Also, yeah, I say we, right? So we correctly predicted that Imu would be showing up at God Valley. So I did a video on that several weeks ago, but in all fairness, that is something that people were talking about, obviously, on stream and everything like that. So that's a good one. Yeah, snaps for everybody here. Makes the whole situation way more dramatic, even more exciting than seeing, like, Roger and Rocks fight or anything like that. Even Roger and Garp versus Rocks. There's still a chance that Imu gets Rocks gets Dami reversey. There's so much potential from this setup. This is crazy. Yeah, this is crazy. Too bad Oda. Yeah, Big Mom not being part of this. I don't know. Big Mom being part of this, it does feel right, because, like, Big Mom should be stronger than Kaido right now at this age. Also, the other thing is, what's the other thing? The other thing is, what is it? last stream, I think, or maybe 2 streams ago, we were talking about like how characters rank in God Valley. I was putting Kaido higher. Who remembers this? I said Kaido should rank higher, right? I was arguing that Kaido, my argument was that I felt like Kaido should be right behind Big Mom, or at least right after Silver Axe. That was my opinion. I think I definitely had Kaido above Silver Axe. I had Kaido above Silver Axe. People pushed back. I think portrayal-wise, it is very clear that Kaido is up there right now, right? Like, he is. I do think that Kaido would rank number 5 on the Rocks Pirates. You got Rocks, Whitebeard. I think it's Rocks, Whitebeard, Shiki, Big Mom, Kaido. I think it's pretty straightforward. Like, I think the legends, because people can get into the ages and everything like that, but like, I think the way Oda has been portraying things so far is that the legends, the Emperor status characters that were on Rox's crew, they're already kind of on their way to that path. They already have, like, they're already a bigger deal. Like, it's just been the portrayal of them so far. They're a bigger deal than the rest, including Silver Axe, right? Silver Axe was getting his ass kicked this chapter. And I know people are like, well, Silver Axe's fruit will make him, like, get stronger and stuff. We've never seen that happen. We've only, like, I know we have seen that happen in his introduction, but I'm just saying, like, that's all, so far it's all speculation, right? Whereas Oda's consistent portrayal so far has been, like, he's portraying Kaido as being up there. Not in terms of, it's not like he's equal to Whitebeard or equal to Big Mom necessarily yet, but he has been being put front and center more so than characters like Silver Axe. It does seem like there's a delineation between, like, the big 4 of the crew, Whitebeard, Shiki, Big Mom, Kaido, that Oda's putting forward is like, these are like the next big thing. Like, once the Rocks Pirates break apart, these guys will rule the sea, right? And then there's a gap, and then there's like the rest. Silver Axe, Captain John, Wangzi, yada yada. They just don't have the potential. You know, they just don't have the same potential. And I know Kaido's young, but he's like 20, 21. Luffy's gonna be fucking Pirate King at 2021. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that ages naturally correlate, but yeah. Shiki over Kaido is a hot take. Oh, I mean, what? Now I'm confused, because last stream 2 streams ago, we did all the rankings and stuff, and people were arguing that Kaido should be, like, I left it up to chat. Chat voted Kaido way down, like below Silver Axe. I was voting him higher. I don't know. Maybe Kaido's ahead of Shiki right now. I don't know. But I'm just going based off what you guys were saying before. I was saying Kaido should be higher. I don't know. I just know the big 4 of the crew. Whitebeard's number 1 on Rox's crew, after Rox himself, of course. And then Big Mom's going to be ahead of Kaido no matter how you spin it, just because of age, right? Kaido is still young. I just don't think 21 or whatever is that young, you know? And then Shiki, I think I don't know how to gauge him on this crew just yet. I don't know where he's supposed to stack. Okay, so let's say Shiki's the oddball. All right. Anyway, continuing on. Let's get the stream likes up to. I have to fucking switch tabs to see the stream likes. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Okay, I can't get too caught up on this stuff. Because we got so much to talk about. I do think this will lead to Roger and Garp versus Rocks. This chapter is really hyped, so we'll be doing. So there's next Tuesday's video, and I'm doing a mini video coming out next Saturday. Not this Saturday, next Saturday. Fading Phase, thanks for being a Pirate King to remember for 7 months. Oh no, we covered this. Taptio Treviso, thanks for the 2. You missed my Pirate King message this month? Oh shit, I am so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. In fairness, it gets compiled for me by somebody else, and then I read it. I am very, very, very sorry, man. If you give me your message right now, I can answer it in detail right now, but if you would rather it be part of a Pirate King podcast, then just give me the comment right here. I'll go and paste it right now in our Slack channel, so it'll be the first thing in the Pirate King podcast next month. I'm very sorry about that, Taptio Treviso. I do appreciate the long-time support, man. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 2. God's Knights on Fraud Watch, because what is this performance? Man, okay, I'll say this. I think Garling isn't done because regeneration is a thing, right? Even with Conqueror Haki, the reality is that they still regenerate. It just takes a lot longer for them to do so. So Garling shouldn't be done here. But I would say this. Rox doing that to Garling, I don't think is a bad choice by Oda. I think that's a great choice because I've always felt, like, people get on my case for this, but I've always felt that Pirate King level is really fucking high. I think it's really, really, really high. Like, I think there's a big gap, even right, like, you just compare, like, what like Luffy. I don't want to get all the details, right? I don't want to get all the details, but I think Pirate King level is really, really high. Okay, so like Garling, whatever level you think Garling is, Admiral level, Gorosei level, whatever that means, Yonko level, if you think he's there, I don't know. I don't know where he is at the moment. Is he supposed to be in his prime? I think so. Does he get a Gorosei buff once Imu gives him powers? I don't know, right? We don't know. But let's assume he's supposed to be at least comparable to Admirals, Gorosei, who knows Yonko, okay? If we assume that, that is what I think Rocks would do, or a Pirate King level character would do, to characters in that range. I have always felt that Pirate King level is higher than people expect, okay? So to me, I think Rocks taking out an Admiral as a rookie was like a little preview of that like 4 characters of that caliber, they can do shit like that. Like Roger doing that shit to Odin, right? That's another example, right? I think characters at Pirate King level can handle characters who are like, Admirals, Gorosei, maybe even Yonko or whatever, without that much difficulty. I really have always believed that. So Rocks doing that to Garling is not surprising to me. But I do think that Oda should have shown us what Garling can do beforehand, before he had Rocks do him like that, just so we get a more concrete idea. Does that make sense? Like, what is Garling? How are we supposed to perceive Garling in terms of strength, right? That's my personal perspective. I do think Garling isn't done. I think Garling will get back up because of regeneration, and I think he will cause some more trouble in this fight. But now we know that he is not on Rox's level. But again, I don't think anybody thought he's on Rox's level. I do think that people underestimate the level of what a Pirate King can be. Oh shit, I might have to unlock a door real quick. Hold on. Oh, no, I guess it's okay. All right. Yeah, Taptio Treviso, if you want to drop your comment in here. Again, I'm sorry about that. Hold on. Yeah, if someone see Taptio Treviso says wait wrong. Wait wrong? What does that mean? Did your Pirate King comment get in there? Alright, I guess we just wait. Oh, Taptio Treviso says, my message was in comment for Pirate King submission, and it's too long for this without paying like $10. Okay, my bad, man. Okay, let me look again. I'm sorry about that. I will make it the first thing of next Pirate King podcast. I'm very sorry about that. First thing of next month's Pirate King podcast. I'm going to make a note right now. Hold on. I'll make it the first one of next month's Pirate King podcast. If you want to get in another submission for that, I can do that. Or how about you tell me right now? Taptio, I can respond to it right here on stream if you would prefer that, or I can do it in next month's Pirate King podcast, and the next month you just get 2 questions if you want to let me know what you prefer, because I can look it up right now in the thing. So let me just know let me know what you prefer, man. Declan Murphy, thanks for the 2. How old is Garling right now? I doubt this is his prime. I'm so sick of this shit, man. I'm so sick of this shit. This is what's so... I'm so sick of this shit. With God Valley, you can't... It's like none of this means anything to anybody, I guess, because it's like anything that happens here... And this is only a One Piece thing, I fucking swear. Where it's like... There's always excuses for everything. And that, of course, you got to take context into account. We know Kaido's not in his prime. We know, Dragon's obviously not in his prime. But, it's just you look at God Valley, it's if anything happens that a viewer or reader doesn't particularly like, it's that doesn't fit my agenda, it's well, I don't think that person's in his prime. I don't think this person's in his prime. That guy's not in his prime. It's just I don't think some of these characters are that far off. As far as we know, Whitebeard should be close, from what we know, right? Again, I personally think Roger's going to get a Haki Bloom by the end of this God Valley fight. I think he's all set up for that. We will wait and see, okay? I think fucking, like, Big Mom. Do you see the Conqueror Haki and the explosion that she did this chapter? That's, like, fucking bigger than, like, the Conqueror Haki that she released this chapter when she was pissed is bigger than anything we've seen from her in the modern day. I'm not saying she's in her prime, but I'm just saying that, like, I don't think that characters are necessarily, like, way off of their primes. And it's just, like, how are we even supposed to, like, at a certain point, is anything supposed to mean anything in God Valley then? Because, like, anything that happens is just like, I don't think this doesn't count. Because, like, it's fucking, God Valley took place in, like, November the 26th, 1942, and I think this character's prime was only on this exact day, January 8th, 1953 or something, and that's the only day that we can judge them and their performance. It's like, come on, man. We already know that the way that One Piece works, it's unlikely that Oda's going to come out and explain explicitly Shanks' peak prime was like when he was like 34 years old, and then his prime stopped, and that was his prime day or whatever, and like, you know, it's like fucking Amazon. Whitebeard's prime day was when he turned 38 years old and 3 weeks or whatever. I'm so fucking sick of this. We're getting the story of God Valley. We're getting the biggest pirate battle ever. You can assume the characters are reasonably close. They're not fucking bums running around, okay? Like, you saw what Big Mom could do this chapter. You saw she's a fucking Conqueror Haki user, clearly close to her prime, right? You see Whitebeard and Rocks ready to duke it out with Emu. Whitebeard's not just like some fucking toddler right now, okay? Like, Garling, his whole resume, he's fucking introduced to us with a text box that says his biggest notable accomplishment is being the fucking champion of God Valley. That's his claim to fame. This is his fucking biggest moment. God Valley. This is his moment. This is what he's known for. He's known for God Valley. So how are we sitting here just being like, you know, because I don't like how Garling was treated, I'm going to say he's not in his prime. If he's not in his prime, he's probably not that far off. He could be in his absolute fucking peak, perfect situation, got 8-9 hours of sleep, all right? Whatever. Rocks is still going to beat him. I don't think Oda's writing that scene with Oda thinking in his head that Rocks, like, oh, the main takeaway for the reader should be that Garling is not in his prime. I don't think that's the takeaway. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think people are too obsessed. Like, yeah, we can split hairs about how close this character is to their full strength or whatever, and that helps explain some things, but I just think it's really annoying that, like, it feels like Oda can't write any situation ever happening in the past without readers basically like trying to discredit it as much as possible, because it's like, well, this character wasn't the perfect age for this situation to count or something. It's like, well, we can still draw some fucking conclusions from this, you know? Anyway. Vitron, thanks for the 5. Why is it the era of Roger, Garp, and Roger? I assume you mean Rocks, Garp, and Roger, but not the era of Harold and Whitebeard. One clash equally with Roger, the other equally with Rocks. Because Whitebeard is currently a subordinate to Rocks. It by definition can't be his era. It's like, it's the same way it can't be Zoro's era in the modern day, even though Zoro's like obviously stronger than like Kid and Law or whatever. It's not gonna be Zoro's era because he's the first mate of somebody else's crew, you know. And then the era of Harold already had his era. Harold had his era and then he retired. Harold doesn't. Let's keep things in mind. It was established at what was the whole how did the whole flashback begin? This whole flashback began with Harold's era. He already had an era. His era was like a fucking 100 years, you know, or some shit like that. He had a crazy long era, and then he was just like, you know, I'm hanging up my horns. I'm gonna relax for a while, right? Harold had his era. How much longer of an era does Harold need? He's done. He's done sailing the seas and being a hooligan and a delinquent and a pirate and shit like that, you know. Okay, I'm looking for Tiptio Treviso's comment. Morge is it's the Akainu Luffy fight Haki Bloom theory comment last month. I took 20 minutes. Okay, it's the Akainu Luffy fight Haki Bloom theory comment last month. Do you want me to answer that here? Taptio, do you want me to answer that here, or do you want me to answer that in, what do you call? Taptio is saying people treat Yonko level as 95% Pirate King when it's more like 50 to 67% level. I mean, I'm of that opinion too. I don't know about 50 to, I don't know what it is, but like, I am of the opinion that there are significant levels to this. Like, yeah, I just think that there's still bigger jumps to go, you know? Yeah, Taptio just... Wait, you said yeah. Do you want me to answer that here or next month? Okay, can you type out if you want me to answer that here or at the start of next month's Pirate King podcast? Because I'm good with either. Gobble these nuts. Thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 12 months, man. Same world as that Van Augur quote to Saturn. Yeah. Excellent observation. Blackbeard knows what's up too, for sure. Let's get stream likes up to 150 real quick. Let's get stream likes up to 150. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 10. Right here? Okay, I got you. Let me get Titanium Dragon, then I got you, man. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 10. Theory. Dragon gets the fruit that Rocks wants and scars Whitebeard. Whoa, Dragon scars Whitebeard? And when Emu shows up, he nearly kills them, making him the world's most wanted man because he's the only one who can actually hurt/kill Emu. Oh, man, that'd be insane. But I do personally think that, like, I personally feel like the fight is going to come down to at least Roger and Rocks versus Emu in some capacity. And I feel like Garp's going to be involved somehow, but I cannot imagine how Garp can be involved in this without getting his ass fired, you know? That's the tricky thing with this whole situation. How does Garp get involved without losing his job? Because we know he keeps his job, you know? We know he keeps his job. Hold on. Okay, let's see. So Tio Treviso. Tio Treviso, I'm actually not seeing it. Hold on, let me go 1 month back further. Hold on. Hold on. Dude, I'm not seeing your... Here, I can show you what I see. Give me a second. All right. Hold on. Man, okay, give me a second. How do I share this? Hold on. Let me answer a question in the meantime. Cause well, I guess I can just do this. Okay, here's what I'm seeing, man. So if I search Taptio, I'm not seeing you in the submissions for this one. And this is from 2 weeks ago. I'm not seeing you in the submissions, man. Yeah, I can check on Patreon because the other half of submissions are from Patreon, but this is what I see. So I'm sorry about that. I don't know what... Maybe there was an error or something like that, but this is what I'm seeing. Because it does look like everything that was submitted... The Pirate King podcasts are both from YouTube members, and then there's Patreon members, and then they get compiled into one list and one document, and then they get put together. But I don't see you under the YouTube members. Are you also a patron? Because then I can check in the patrons group, but that's what I'm seeing. Taptio says, do I have to email you? You can email me, man. Yeah, I know you've been a long-time supporter, but I'm just saying, so it doesn't look like maybe it was a mistake when maybe something happened when you submitted it or something like that, but it does look like everything yeah. Sorry about that, man. Okay. Acrylim says light mode browser. I'm actually baffled that dark mode is so popular with people. It blows my mind because I don't know. I just like to me dark mode makes things seem just depressing. Everything's dark and I don't know. Like light mode, just I like opening things up and like it's bright. You're browsing. It's bright. The world's a bright The world's a bright, nice, sunny place. I don't know. Dark mode browsing makes me feel like like everything online is sad and evil. I don't know. Little Dragon 21, thanks for the 5. Thanks for the 5. Rocks calling Emu the world was epic. Yeah. Even more so knowing Van Augur claims Blackbeard wants the world in front of Saturn was even more epic. Yeah. I'm really fucking excited for this setup. Also, everybody, I know what you are all thinking. I know what everyone's thinking. Frankly, it's a little bit embarrassing, but it's okay. You're all looking behind me, and you're all thinking, Morge, that is some goddamn beautiful poster collection that you got back there. It's a little different than it looked before. You know, that's what you guys are thinking. And guess what? This poster collection, it's not exclusive. You all can get it. You all can get your hands on these ships. These beautiful ships that are our new collection that we just put out. I fucking love this collection. And my favorite part about it is that if you go to any ship, you can zoom in and you'll always find the crew on there as well. So, and the crews are always hidden in little Easter egg spots. Like here's Law and Beppo. Polar Tang's my personal favorite. That's why I pulled it up. You go to Dragon Ship, and we got our guy Dragon. We got Ivankov. We got Sabo. And then if you go to some ships, you can find people sitting around. If you just want Mihawk, because Mihawk's ship is just fucking Mihawk, you could find him here too. But yeah, you all can get these beautiful, beautiful ships for yourself. And the first, so we do have a deal for buy two, get two. And the first 30 people who pick up that specific deal will also get the exclusive Going Merry. That's the only way you can get that deal. Just a heads up, we are almost out of the Going Merry, so if you want to get your hands on that, this is the best opportunity to get the buy two, get two. Probably, I think after today you will not be able to get the Merry because we are almost booked up with those. So yeah, if you want to get the Merry, then you can try the buy two, get two deal, and then as long as you're within our first 30 of the buy two get twos, then you can get the Merry as well. So make sure you get your ships. Make sure you get your ships. Yeah, the Mihawk ship is basically Mihawk. Because everybody else, it's like, that was actually a debate amongst us. It was like, with Mihawk ship, because everybody else were doing the cruise, Mihawk ship, it's so close up. Isn't it just like a Mihawk poster? It's like, well, you know what? That's cool too. But yeah, if you want the Merry, most likely after today, the Merry will not be available. Continuing on. Make sure you get your posters. Okay. Brim, thanks for the 5. What a chapter. Do you think Oda retconned Big Mom giving Kaido his fruit, or do you think that it's because Big Mom's ego is getting in the way of the truth? I think that Oda planned... Okay, so my video coming out next Tuesday that I finished writing is like... It is a very, very... how do I say this? God Valley is the ultimate example in One Piece that I can think of in recent times of Oda's planning. Like, the amount of character storylines that he had in his head that all connect back to God Valley is fucking mind-blowing. It is a masterclass. It is beautiful. I am so fucking impressed. Like, just watch next Tuesday's video, because what becomes clear is how much Oda's planning is just thinking from the end backwards. It's just every single major character, Roger, Whitebeard, Garp, Kaido, Big Mom, Dragon, like all of them, you now understand why they be like who they are, like the versions of them that we got to know, you know? We understand why they became that version of themselves based on the events of God Valley that we're seeing today. Everything clicks. So even the Big Mom Kaido thing, like their vendetta, Big Mom supposedly giving the Kaido the fruit, why they hated each other, but why they also seemed to get along, why Kaido did mourn her death, even though he seemed to want to kill her and everything like that, all of that makes so much sense now. And it's just like, how do I say this? The giving the fruit thing, like, I don't think Big Mom literally thinks that she gave Kaido the fruit, but she probably thinks that Kaido does owe her one. And I genuinely think that situation, you can view it from either side as like who was correct in that situation. I think they were both shitty to each other. And I think that was a great way for Oda to craft a sort of spark of or like a divergence between two characters who beforehand were very close, because they both have reason to be pissed at the other person, in my opinion. They both have valid reason. And it makes sense. Like, their entire dynamic in Wano makes perfect sense now that we understand what we saw created the rift in the first place. Joseph eBay, thanks for being a Yonko tier member. Thanks for joining the Yonko. Yeah, really appreciate it, and definitely check out the podcast. Definitely check out the podcast, man. Podcasts that come out every Tuesday. The Loman says, Morge, you didn't answer the question. As in, like, do I believe that that Big Mom thinks that she... I don't think it's a retcon. I definitely don't think it's a retcon. Not a retcon at all. Like, if anything, God Valley shows just how carefully Oda planned pretty much every character's beliefs, goals, motivations. Okay? So watch out for next Tuesday's video. I definitely don't think it's a retcon. I don't think it's her ego getting in the way of the truth either. I think it's just her kind of putting her spin on it, which is like, you have that fruit thanks to me. Like, I found it to you. I found it. You know, I was the one that found it or whatever. It's just like her needling Kaido to some degree. Nestor Ramos, thanks for the 5. How's your perspective on Garp changed after this chapter? Is it the same or different? I think it's my previous perspectives on Garp are validated. I never wanted to go so far as to outright say that, like, Garp probably didn't know what goes on with the Celestial Dragons, like their true atrocities and everything, and like the dark side of the Marines. I was never sure about that. That's like a big claim to make. But I did always feel like people are way too hard on Garp and completely ignore everything that Oda's shown us about Garp's character, because they view it too black and white. They're like, if Garp wears a Marine uniform, that means he's bad, no matter everything else that Oda shows us about what Garp's moral compass actually is, how much he doesn't go along with the Celestial Dragon stuff, how much he does his own thing, how much he refuses to follow orders, how much everything he does is genuinely about trying to save citizens, civilians, etc. Like, Garp is legitimately a good dude. He's always been presented as a good dude, but people want to turn it into black and white and be like, because he wears a Marine uniform, that means that he's bad, and he's always been bad because he has to have known what they're doing. He didn't know. He didn't know. He did not know. What we need to do now is wait and see and kind of judge what his perspectives are post God Valley and kind of get an understanding. Like, let's just wait and see what he feels the right path is post God Valley and why. Because this was a very, very important chapter for Garp. Like exonerating his character, you cannot blame him anymore for him being a Marine up to this point. If you still want to hold him being a Marine against him from this point forward, right? Like, after God Valley, we still need to wait and see what his justification and mentality is going forward after this, you know? Because let's say Garp goes on and creates Sword or something after this. To me, that means Garp's a hero, because he's trying to change the Marines from the inside, you know? Carnage, thanks for the 5. I honestly thought Garling was Emu's strongest subordinate. I'm not so sure anymore. Also, do you think we get an Emu face reveal before God Valley ends? I do think Garling is Emu's strongest subordinate. It's just that Emu's strongest subordinate is not going to mean shit to Rocks. That's all that this means in my mind. I also think that it's possible that Garling will get a Zoan buff after officially becoming a Gorosei, which he would not have had at this point in time, obviously. I mean, maybe he does have a Zoan buff, because I guess we'll see in the future. Maybe in God Valley he gets back up or something like that. Maybe it's possible he's already got a fruit ability or something like that, or Emu's given him an ability. But I do think that, like, in terms of presentation, it does seem like Garling is going to be the strongest Gorosei. It's just Rocks is probably that strong, you know? Joseph eBay, thanks for the 5. Yo, Morge, how does it feel to have predicted the coming of Emu? How does the One Piece community handle that? Do you become Lord for a week? As much as I appreciate that, man, and I really, really do appreciate that, the reality is also that there were other people in chat. Like, there were people in chat talking about Emu coming to God Valley. Like, that was a point of discussion. So I can't just sit here and take full credit. I do feel good that, like, you know, I feel like I did a video putting together a lot of pieces and things that made sense around it. But I don't think I'm the only person who had that idea. I know I'm not the only person who had that idea, because there was people messaging in chat and stuff like that about, like, what if Emu comes to God Valley, or like Emu possesses Gunko or something like that, right? That's ultimately it was Emu possesses Saturn. But you know, while I feel good that that video is correct, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, that was purely my brainchild or something like that, you know? I will talk it up, like I talk it up a little bit in the chapter review, but, you know, I'm not going to be loudly proclaiming like, this was all me, etc. Okay? If the Captain John's thing turns out to be true, then I'll have a chip on my shoulder, because I'm excited to see that Captain John was not featured in this chapter, unless I missed something. So Captain John not featured in this chapter. Where is he? What is he up to? Is he picking up one of those really valuable devil fruits? I think it's a very good possibility. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Let's get the stream likes up to 200, because we've got a shit ton of people in here. Hold on. Oh my god. Okay, we got a lot to... Okay, we're going to try and turbo through these comments a little bit with greater haste, all right? We got a lot... Oh my god, we got a lot of comments. All right, hold on. Okay. Oh my god, man. Okay. Obsidian Angel, thanks for the 10. Next chapter, we're going to see the Rocks pirates get humbled, especially Kaido thinking his fruit will make a difference. We should also accept the tragedy of Rocks being Dami reversied. I could see Rocks being Dami reversied and then having to fight Roger and Garp like Sengoku said. I could see that happening. It would be tragic. It would be cool to see, okay? Kaido, I think it's possible that Kaido doesn't do too well in the Emu fight, and he witnesses the level of Haki of like Rocks, Roger, and Garp, and maybe that's where, because we know that Kaido so far in this flashback has been all about I need a devil fruit. Something changes his perspective to the present day, where now he's like, Haki matters way more than devil fruits. Devil fruits aren't that big of a deal, right? So I'm like, and he talks about Roger when he's explaining that. He's like, Roger was super strong and he didn't have a devil fruit, right? So it seems like Roger is kind of his shining example of how Haki trumps devil fruits. So I wonder if Kaido maybe doesn't do too well in the battle, and this is where he learns that devil fruits are not as important as Haki. And just because he picked up a good devil fruit doesn't mean he's at the same level of these other guys. Not as an insult to Kaido, okay? Just because Kaido's young, that's it, right? He naturally wouldn't be in that same tier. He needs time to get his Haki up, you know? So that's my thought on that. Fatinga! Oh my god. Sorry, this crapped out. Give me a second here. YouTube is getting... This fucking new UI that they've got for this, I can't even explain it to you guys. It's absolutely trash. I genuinely don't understand what they're doing here. Okay. Continuing on. Fatingo, thanks for bringing a Yonko tier member for 28 months, man. Not to show lack of media literacy, but are Roger and Garp also witnessing Emu coming out of Saturn? Because a full-blown team up there is incomprehensible. I think so, but I don't think that's media literacy. I think we just need a bit more visual clarity. I think a full-blown team-up is coming. Or the worst-case scenario is the other way around, which is like Roger and Garp have to fight Rocks, which would be sad. But I like to believe in the positive, which is a team-up against Emu. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 5. It's confirmed that Shanks' Haki surpasses Garling, likely from his mother. Strange that Blackbeard isn't a conqueror. His mom's toughness suggests that he could be. I mean, maybe Blackbeard is a conqueror. I just don't think he shows any of the traits that we've traditionally seen. And yeah, Shanks' Haki surpassing Garling. I mean, Shanks' Haki has been built up to be really, really high. Of course, in the story. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5. It is starting to seem like a lot, if not most, of the top sea figures in history, and Roger knows about Emu and the threat that they represent. Yeah. So, from this, Roger, Garp, Rocks, we need confirmation that Garp is seeing Emu and Roger is seeing Emu, but then, obviously, Whitebeard, Kaido, strangely Oda leaves Big Mom out. But yeah, you're right. Mr. Nemo, thanks for the 2. Do you think Tritoma will show up again? I'm not banking on it. Plus, Shaki's already saved, so it'd be like, kind of like, what the fuck? But maybe her ship shows up as like a getaway route for Shaki or something. Who knows? The Lowman, thanks for the 2. Garling when he has to fight a top tier. Yeah, man. The Garling stocks plummeted here. Talha, welcome to the Yonko. Thank you very much for joining again. I really appreciate the long-time support, Talha. Whale, thanks for the 5. Any theories to Nami's origins? She's associated with number 16, like the Celestial Dragons. Even Azumi was in the 16th branch. Dragon seems to parallel Bellemere on God Valley. One Piece is... I didn't even know Nami is associated with the number 16, I'm gonna be honest. Azumi was in the 16th branch, like the Celestial Dragons. Nami is a baby, so, like, to me, it's just, like, if Nami is special in some way... I just don't need all of the Strats to be special in some way. If Nami is special, if she turns out to be a D or something, I don't know. Like, I don't have any specific thoughts. I would prefer Nami to just be normal here, you know? I'd prefer Nami to be normal. It's an interesting thing you pointed out with the parallel between Dragon and Bellemere, but I don't think that's even a striking parallel in my... No, it is. Like, running out of there, saving a baby, trying to save 2 babies. Bellemere at least saves 2 babies, but it is a striking parallel. That is a good point. Little Dragon 21, thanks to the 5. Do you think Oda having Gaimon prevalent in the most recent color spread raises stocks for your old theory video? I mean, my old theory video is just that, like, it's not even a big... I don't think it's even a theory, because it doesn't make a big prediction for what happens for the end of the story. My video is literally just, like, it's one of the oldest Morge channel videos ever. It's literally just pointing out how the Gaimon chapter seemed to foreshadow that the One Piece is not going to be what we expect, because... the short story of Gaimon seems to be like a little bit of a parable for the idea of like trying and reaching for a treasure for so long that's just out of reach that you can't seem to get. Like everyone in the world is trying to do for One Piece. And then once you finally get your hands on the treasure, it's not what you expect, right? Kind of like how, you know, it seems like whatever's on Laugh Tale is not a traditional treasure, right? So that's all I think, but in general, with the color spread, I don't read into color spreads too much because I don't think, as far as I know, in One Piece history, I don't think there's ever been a color spread that reveals some sort of major plot twist or plot event for the story. I don't think so. There might be some coincidences you can draw, and I think my opinion on color spreads became like that after we saw Oda's process for drawing color spreads, because if you just view any of Oda's time-lapse drawings for color spreads, the man doesn't, like, really plan these out that much, okay? Like, he just does, it's a stream of consciousness type thing for him. He's just doing what's fun. He will draw a color spread, swap out characters if he's like, this, or just, like, change the whole concept, like, partway through, be like, I just don't even want any of this. Like, let's just throw this all away. Let's just do, now they're in a disco or something like that. Okay, now... let's swap it. Fuck it. No more Zoro. Let's throw in Chopper. Okay, you know what? I don't like the whole thing. Let's just make a giant Nami and then everyone else is small. You know, I don't think there's a ton of planning that goes into color spreads. I think that's just a place for Oda. Like, it's a little sandbox for Oda, in my opinion, from what we've seen. Let's get the streamlights up to 200 real quick because we're almost there. Little Dragon 21, thanks for the 5. Do you think... oh, no, we covered that. Julian Reed, thanks for the 5. To touch on your rant about after the Garling Prime comment, people don't want to say it, but agenda is ruining how some consume the story. I mean, everyone's guilty of it, including myself, obviously, but, like, it's just, I swear it's only, like, the extent to which the agenda goes. I think part of it is that Oda doesn't fully draw fights, right? So, like, because he doesn't fully draw fights, it leaves a lot of wiggle room for interpretation, so... I think One Piece is kind of the only series that I've seen where every single, like, everything that we see, it's, like, nitpicked to death, or, like, there's a million arguments or excuses. The only times we don't see that are when, like, a fight is really, really black and white. Like, really fucking straightforward, like, Shanks one-shotting Kid. There's no wiggle room for any sort of debate. But you get anything else. You get, like, Luffy versus Kizaru. You get... Garp versus the entire Blackbeard pirates and Aokiji or whatever. You get, like, so many individual fights, matchups, whatever. Like, it's just, there's always going to be reasons, breakdowns on either side while, like, no, we can't count this because of this or this. Like, there's so much, like Oda will show one page of something, and then that'll lead to, like, a million different arguments as to why this does count, doesn't count, secretly, like, or this gasses up the, like, some fight here will for some reason be like, this is evidence for the Shanks agenda. This is evidence for, like, the Dragon agenda or something, and it's like, what? It's, like, 10 steps removed from that. It's just so... I don't know. I think it's because Oda doesn't draw the fights all the way out or something like that. Like, I don't think this is the case for other series as far as I've experienced where, like, every single fight, there's like a million different arguments for why this or that doesn't count. If something happens that somebody doesn't like in One Piece, then if there's any level of wiggle room at all, it'll be like, this doesn't count. I think that's what the experience has been on my end, from what I've seen. Sampat Sakesh Revolpathy, thanks a lot for being a Yonko tier member for 34 months, man. Yo Morge, awesome chapter. God Valley kicked into next gear. Kaido is high on his new devil fruit. Looks like Imu might give him the Haki reality check the same day. I think that might happen, or at the very least, Kaido might see the difference between him and how Rock's Whitebeard Roger Garp fight. Let me do a note real quick. Hold on. Okay. Ikoi no Rafa, thanks for the 10. So you dropped some Japanese kanji. Seems to employ because of the intense destruction. He feels that something new will be birthed. Something being vague but implied dangerous. Yeah, so I don't know if that means like if Saturn's comment is referring to an ideology or like a movement or something literal. So the notion that Oda, if it's something literal, then the notion that Oda could top everything that's going on even further with something even crazier, like an even bigger development, that's just mind-blowing. That's really exciting. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 10, man. Oda once said Strongworld was such opposed to delve into the secret of Nami's birth, but axed it. Was supposed to delve into the secret of Nami's birth, but he axed it because he felt it would be too touching and wouldn't appeal to young audiences. Check Sandman 7324. Okay, I guess there is something more to Nami's birth. That is kind of crazy. And Strongworld is the only movie that Oda was gonna write too. So like, damn. Okay, so maybe we will get that in the main story. That's really interesting. So maybe Nami is like a member of some special clan or something. Dick so small I pissed on the balls. Thanks for the 5. Garling is currently more pathetic character than Kid or Big Mom have ever been. Reverse jumped off screen when it's not a slave or helpless woman. Yeah. Okay. Time out. Let me make a declaration right here. Because if I'm not mistaken, Dick so small I pissed on my balls. Big Mihawk fan, right? From what I can recall. I'm gonna say this right here. It seems like what we are about to witness in the next 5-ish chapters, 3-4 chapters, to whatever, next X number of chapters. It seems like what we're going to witness is a battle with Rocks against Emu, potentially Roger involved, right? Yeah, Rocks against Emu, potentially Roger involved, right? Okay. And we got to see Rocks doing a big move this chapter, right? We already got to see Rocks fighting a lot against Harold, but we saw again Rocks doing a big sword move this chapter, right? So, my perspective, as you all know, has always been this, okay? I felt that until we see the ceiling to what Haki can do in One Piece, I've leaned towards Shanks greater than Mihawk, because my feeling has been that we're continuing to see more and more the ceiling of Haki. Shanks has been hyped more in the story from my perspective, right, from what I've seen. And the ceiling of Haki doesn't necessarily involve just putting Haki on swords and swinging, right? That's always been my thing. Like, until we see the ceiling of what Haki can do, because as time has gone on, we've continued to learn more and more of how Haki actually works. We've learned more and more levels, more and more techniques, things like that, right? So, that's always been my perspective, that until we actually get to see the ceiling of Haki, I have no idea. I don't think, I feel confident saying that Mihawk greater than Shanks just because Mihawk is better with a sword than Shanks. Because if with Haki you can do things outside of just swordsmanship, and with Shanks' level of hype in the story, I think it's very possible that Shanks is greater than Mihawk. However, if, like, what we're about to see right now is Rocks, right? Potentially strongest pirate ever, Roger, the other potentially strongest pirate ever, right? We're about to see them. 2 swords users going up against Emu. Hardest matchup possible, right? If we do not see them use anything outside of Haki sword slashes, all right? Then for me, I'm shifting. I'm like, okay, we saw the top of the world, right? Oda showed us the pinnacle of the world, right? He showed us, because I don't think Shanks is above Roger and Rocks. At best case scenario, maybe equal. But I don't think Shanks is above Roger and Rocks. So, if we see them fight, like we finally get to see them fight, right? We already saw Rocks versus Harold. So that was when I first began to feel like, okay, this might be it. Like maybe there's not anything else you can do maybe coating your sword with Haki is the peak of Haki, right? If coating your sword with Haki is the peak of Haki, and that's all we see that's what Rox and Roger do when fighting Emu or fighting each other or whatever the fuck happens next, that's it. I'm like, we saw pretty much the best that it gets. It seems like coating your sword with Haki is the best that it gets. If that's the case, then Shanks probably doesn't have anything else up his singular sleeve, you know? Mihawk should be stronger than him. To me, that's it. And that's what I've always said, which is I need to see what the full level of Haki we can kind of get to. I've always said I want to wait to see Shanks in a full-on serious fight to see if there's anything else that he can do Haki-wise, just because of the way Oda's built him up. But Rox and Roger, that's a good enough interchangeable replacement, right? Because I don't think Shanks is going to be doing anything that either of them can't do. So this is it. This is big for me because I think people aren't talking about this maybe enough, but I feel like this should pretty much settle the swordsmanship situation, okay? And look, you guys know me. I've been a long person arguing that I think that the window is open for Shanks to be stronger than Mihawk. I'm good with being wrong. I've always said that I want to wait to see the end of Haki, like what the pinnacle of Haki is. So I'm saying right here, if all we see Rox and Roger doing in the highest level fight in the entire story is using Haki-based sword swings, right? Haki-coded sword attacks, that's it. That's swordsmanship. Mihawk, stronger swordsman than Shanks. That means that there's not some other techniques outside of swordsmanship that Rox or Roger use, right? That's it, right? Mihawk should be stronger than Shanks. So I think this is a very, very interesting fight because I think this will at least, this should answer a lot of questions. You know, this should answer, can you do things with Haki that don't involve just coating it with a sword? Because if it's just coating with a sword, that's Mihawk's game. That's Mihawk. It's GG. It's Mihawk's game, right? I'm going to shift over to Mihawk should be stronger than Shanks after that because I don't think there'll be an argument after that. See what I'm saying? I think that that's just the same. I think that's a pure, simple, fair, objective way to view it. I think that's fair. I think even if you've been on the Shanks side for a long time, I think that this is, like, I don't think it would be reasonable to keep pushing the Shanks agenda if you literally see Rox and Roger, pinnacle Haki users, and all they can do is, like, their peak attacks are swinging their swords with Haki. If that's the case, that's it, you know? I hope people can live with that. I hope people are happy with that. Yeah, exactly. Mihawk is the strongest swordsman, so unless Shanks has something outside of swordsmanship, Mihawk is stronger, simple. That's how I always think. And, like, if we see Rox and Roger just fight with swordsmanship, meaning coating their swords with Haki and swinging with Haki sword slashes, that's pretty much, you know, that's all she wrote. So let's all get ready. I think we got it answered here. Eric Gelato says, lol, Mihawk top 1 all time because Black Blade then? No, I never said... Black Blades, we need further confirmation what a Black Blade means. Like, a Black Blade, like, you're making a jump there. I'm not saying that this puts Mihawk above Rox and Roger. You don't got to argue with, like, straw men. You don't got to argue with ghosts. I'm just saying that this would conclude Mihawk versus Shanks. Mihawk's strongest swordsman of the day, meaning in a sword fight, he should beat anyone. I've always said that the argument for Shanks is that maybe there's Haki techniques that don't involve a sword. But if Rox and Roger show us that that's not really a thing, you kind of at the top level, you coat your attacks with swords and swing, then I don't see the argument for Shanks anymore. Okay? That means that Mihawk greater than Shanks. Black Blade, we have no understanding whatsoever of, like, what it means to have a Black Blade other than it's forged through a history of battle. That's it. Maybe it's related to how many duels you have for all we know. Maybe Mihawk just has more duels than anybody else. Until we get any sort of explanation for what a Black Blade means, I don't think it means jack shit. I'm not going to say it doesn't mean jack shit, but it has no bearing on Mihawk being above Rox and Roger, because nowhere in the story is it implied that Mihawk is above Rox and Roger. But it is very clear in the story that Mihawk is stronger than anyone who's a swordsman, like, stronger than anyone, stronger than any swordsman today, right? So Mihawk's title is for the present. It only applies to the present. To me, this would mean Mihawk greater than Shanks. And I don't really know what the argument would be outside of that. All right. Declan Murphy, thanks for the 5. I'm asking because I generally don't know how old Garling is right now. I don't know whether to treat God Valley Garling like Whitebeard, like Kaido, or like Kaido with feats. My take is simple. It's just like Garling, he's literally introduced to us with God Valley being his claim to fame, right? That's his big thing. Like, it's fucking God Valley. Like, Garling, narrator text box, God Valley. That's his big moment, right? That's his thing. If he's not in his prime at God Valley, then what the fuck, like, what even is the point of anything in the story, you know? Like, I don't know. Wokemeister GT, thanks for the 12. Final matchup ideas: Garling versus Dragon, Shanks versus Shamrock, Blackbeard versus Luffy. I like all these ideas. Also, if Rox gets Nami reversied, Loki will do so in Elbaf as well. Oh man, that would fucking suck. So that Luffy earns his Roger moment. I feel like Luffy would be able to fix it without killing Loki. I'd like to believe that. Tiptier Trevisa says, how did this turn into more Mihawk speculation? Because, I mean, I think it's just, it's a big deal. Like, this is one of the hottest debated topics in the entire One Piece community. And I feel like, it's just, look, we can never know if it definitively closes the book on the debate forever. Because we do still, like, in all fairness, we should still wait to see Shanks fight, etc., yada, yada, right? That's in all fairness. We should still wait to see that. But I think it basically ends all arguments that currently exist, like all reasonable arguments that currently exist for Shanks. You see what I'm saying? Like, hypothetically, there could be something that's totally new that Rox and Roger don't have that maybe Shanks has, right? But that's like based on hope, nothing. It's possible. Anything's possible in One Piece, right? Anything's possible. Oda can make up whatever, right? But in terms of like actually putting forward arguments, I think that would close the book in terms of actually putting forward arguments for the time being for Shanks. So in all reasonableness, in all fairness, I would have to shift over to Mihawk, and I think that's just the way the story goes. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 5. Garp and Roger never beat Rox, just another one of Sengoku's fables. Also, can we acknowledge that bum made Garp a mild threat? Ignorance is bliss. That bum, Sengoku? I don't know if he made him a mild threat, but I don't know. Huntress's hand skills. Yeah, I think Garp is exonerated here, personally. Garp and Roger never beat Rox. They might have beaten Nami reversing Rox for all we know. Bane, thanks for the 2. Morge, Kaido said Roger brought the world to heel. Yeah, so I'm excited. Oh, shit. No, I think he said the pirate world to heel. And there's multiple translations of that. But maybe he said the world to heal. Like, let's see. That would actually be really, really fucking cool if that's what Kaido meant. That'd be amazing. I'm going to check that translation again. Also, let's get the stream lights up to 250 real quick. Did he say he brought the world to heal or brought the pirate world to heal? Dr. Farewell, thanks for joining as a Pirate King tier member, man. I really appreciate it. The Pirate King podcast for the month just dropped, so make sure to check that out. Taptio Treviso, I've not forgotten you. I'm just going to wait for a lull in the comments for me to go address yours, because yours is probably a pretty long message. Yeah. So, Dr. Farewell, definitely check out the Pirate King podcast, man, and thank you for the support. And yeah, you can get your submissions in for the next podcast. Whale says thought it was the world. That would be amazing if Roger did that. Imagine Roger busting out like Joy Boy type Haki. Imagine Roger busting out Joy Boy type Haki. That would be awesome. And like that drives Emu back. That would be amazing. Black Lightning, thanks for the 5. The Holy Knights are literally the new Toby Roppo or the numbers. Every scene, if they're not up against fodder, they're getting destroyed. Do you think the Strats are fodder? I don't think the Strats are fodder. I mean, they're the Toby Roppo or numbers, I guess, of the final, like, the top tier level, but they're scaled up, you know? I guess, like, I think people just don't acknowledge the level, like, the God's Knights are probably, for the majority of them, Yonko Commander level characters, based on what we saw in Elbaf, right? So, you can't discredit what we were shown in Elbaf. In Elbaf, we were shown that, like, killing him by himself can solo the entire country of giants, right? Killing him solo, actually, let's be very clear. Killing him solo is stronger than all of Kaido's army, except for the calamities, right? Killing him's army literally scales above all the numbers, all the gifters combined, right? So keep that in mind, all right? Yonko soloed all of the mid-tier Straw Hats effortlessly. Sommers, low diff Saul, Robin, etc. We don't really know how to gauge that exactly, but like, you got to keep in mind, like, these characters, the God's Knights that we've seen so far in action, they're probably, like, one of them seemed to have Kizaru's fruit, you know? They're probably Yonko commander level characters, right? Garling, probably higher. Shamrock, probably higher, like Admiral, maybe Admiral plus, whatever. Let's not get fully into it or whatever. But the scale of everything is going up, right? So at that level, like, you can have a bunch of Yonko commander level characters, but in the context of God Valley, where the characters are fucking like Pirate Kings, future Yonko, like the strongest Marine of all time, Emu, like the level is so different. It's not that, it's kind of the same thing as the Jack situation, where it's like, it's not that Kaido's like, Jack, you're not weak, it's just that, like, the level is a little bit different now, you know? Like, in the modern day, the God's Knights will be a solid challenge for the Straw Hats. You know, they're clearly already a strong challenge for the Straw Hats. They'll be a strong challenge for probably a lot of notable side characters in the story. They're not meant to be a matchup for, like, Dragon or Shanks or Mihawk or anything like that. That's very clear. So it doesn't really make sense. It's just like, if you take a bunch of strong characters and put them in the room with, like, the strongest characters of all time, of course they're going to look like Toby Roper or fodder, you know? Joseph eBay. Oh, thanks for upgrading your membership to Pirate King tier. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, Tiptio, I agree. People don't understand how high the ceiling of Pirate King level characters are in One Piece because they don't think Luffy will achieve that despite the other information. I just think that the ceiling keeps on going up the more we see in the story, right? Like, we saw what Yonko level looked like in Wano. And then in Egghead, we saw Joy Boy's Haki, and we basically realized, okay, there's a way higher ceiling than anything we've seen. And, you know, now we're in Elbaf, we're seeing, like, Emu's powers. We're getting some glimpses of, like, Rocks. Probably going to see what Roger could do. A bit more Garp, stuff like that. Like, the ceiling, I think, is just going to keep going up. So, yeah. I do agree that the God's Knights will probably be the Toby Ropo of the final war, but that's because, like, the level of everything went up. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not because they're actually Toby Ropo level. KNK, thanks for the 2. How do you rank Rocks, Roger, Garp, Whitebeard, Herald? At this moment in time, so let's freeze frame. At this moment in time, I think Rocks and Herald are tied. Okay? I'll give the edge to Rocks purely because of bias, because I like him. That's stupid. Rocks, Herald, let's say tied. Then I think after that is Garp, then Roger, then Whitebeard with, like, very small gaps, okay? But I think by the end of God Valley, like, this is my belief. I think by the end of God Valley, Roger will be number 1. I'm betting that. I think by the end of God Valley, Roger will be number 1. It's also an interesting quote that was brought up, which was like, Roger brought the pirate world, or the world, to heel, and we're calling Emu the world through Haki. I don't know. I think by the end, I think this is where Roger has his moment of growth. I think this is, because we know Conqueror's Haki only bloom. It's spelled out for us. Haki blooms in extreme battles, right? This is it. This is the most extreme battle of Roger's life. This is it. This is the one. He's not facing Emu again. He's not facing Emu again. This is where it happens, right? I think this is it. Maybe he doesn't get the Haki bloom, but I believe that Oda set things up such that this is where we will see Roger get a Haki bloom. Thomas Davis, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 29 months. Love God Valley, but kind of dislike Rocks right now. He's become too much of a good person, which is pretty boring. Love that he folded that bum for Garland garbage, though. I mean, he loves his wife and kid, but that doesn't mean he's, like, purely a good person. You know, like, he's also got a bit of a pirate's mentality when it comes to, like, he's not that torn up about having to take out his former clan or whatever. You know, like he's still like a rogue figure. He's not pure good, pure evil, but like that's the beauty of him. I think he's a cool character because of that, you know? Nerve AMV Maker, thanks for the 5. Whitebeard standing with rocks to the end and then taking in his son makes Blackbeard's betrayal really sting. Oh, shit, that's a really good point, too. I loved Whitebeard's moment this chapter. Do you think Whitebeard knew who Blackbeard was? Maybe, but I don't think Whitebeard would care. I just don't think Whitebeard would care. Muhammad says, why won't Garp get a Haki Bloom? Maybe Garp gets a Haki Bloom, too. I think it might just be more setup for Roger to get a Haki Bloom because Roger's more the protagonist figure of the story, and Garp has talked about in the like it's just comments that characters have made, like Kaido praising Roger's Haki, and it's like, when did Kaido get to see this pinnacle of Haki? It was probably at God Valley, right? I mean, these are assumptions, right? Garp talking about how Roger would turn into a demon in certain situations, right? I just feel like there's some groundwork that suggests to me that it's possible that Roger could get a big, like there's a moment coming for Roger that will be a really big moment, right? I'm sure, I'm not trying to say Roger is going to be like, in the end, like, I'm sure these characters will all be very relative to one another down the line. I'm just saying, in the context of God Valley, I feel like if a character has been set up to maybe get a big Haki Bloom, I think it might be more likely that it's Roger. Maybe Garp catches up later. Whitebeard catches up later. I don't know. I'm just saying that story-wise, I feel like this could be a moment for Roger that might have been hinted at in the story so far. But maybe Garp gets it too. I'd love for Garp to get it too. I've been loving Garp the more that we've seen of him. Like, Garp has never been one of my favorite characters, but the more that we've seen of him in this flashback, it's really, really made me like him. He's becoming one of my favorite characters. I do think it's possible Whitebeard knew who Blackbeard was, but I just don't think, I don't think Whitebeard would have cared. Julian Reed, thanks for the 2. Who reversed the Davy clan? Emu wasn't there yet. That's a really good question. I don't fucking know. I don't know. It is a big, maybe it's a plot hole or something. No, I don't think it's a plot hole. I think some people have suggested that Eris is some sort of a traitor and it's trick rocks or something here. But I feel like, and people have pointed to Eris being on that circle, you know, that circle, that pentagram thing that Emu had. But I don't know if that adds up either. And she had a whole kid with rocks. So, like, that's a long way to go to trick him. But I guess, I don't know. Also, let's get the Streamlux up to 250 real quick. Let's get the Streamlux up to 250. Dominus, thanks for the 5. It makes sense that Garp made Sword. It enables each member to act like him. No rules. Yeah, I mean, I do believe that Garp made Sword. That is one of the many talking points of next week's video. But next week's video is very, very comprehensive. So I'm really looking forward to next Tuesday's video coming out. I think it's a really interesting one. Rihanna Zara, thanks for the 5. Kaido was so joyous and whimsical this chapter, it almost made me forget he enslaved and starved Wano for 20 years. This whole fucking flashback made me like Kaido and Big Mom, and made me look at them in a different light. Like, you know, before they became emperors, they were, like, kind of fun characters, you know? Like, Kaido's a fun character to follow in this flashback. Big Mom, like, that scene of her drinking in the bar with, like, Rocks and Roger and shit like that, and Whitebeard, like, it's a fun scene. They're likable. They're more likable characters in the past, and it's when they went off and did their own thing that, you know, things changed, right? But, yeah, it's just, yeah, Kaido being joyous and whimsical this chapter, it is funny. It's fun to see. And it's fun to see, like, Whitebeard and Rocks, like, egging him on, too. Like, yeah, good for you, kid. Molly, thanks for the 5. One Piece is so freaking good right now. Every chapter has been a 10 out of 10. Absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, this is like, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Like, this is, I don't even know what to say. I wonder if this has been the best time to be a One Piece fan ever. I'm not sure. There's a lot. There's just, it's just crazy to me that God Valley is topping the expectations that, like, we all had of it. Like, they're all fighting Emu now. That's so crazy. Like, even just the prospect of them all fighting each other, like we were initially told, like Roger Pirates and Garp versus the Rocks Pirates, that was an epic setup, but the reality of it is even greater than we could have imagined. That's such amazing storytelling. Mono21, thanks for the 5. Based on your thoughts on Garp, do you think Oda didn't have Sengoku at God Valley because he's a bootlicker and doesn't fit the vibe at God Valley? I think we need a lot more understanding of Sengoku. He is a Conqueror Haki user in the Marines, like Garp, but he's not the same as Garp, right? But I think there's been a lot of subtle things that Sengoku does that suggest that he's not just... I think the thing that everyone points to is like what Sengoku told Saul. Like, don't question it, just do this, right? That doesn't necessarily reflect Sengoku's own views. We don't... I think Sengoku is a character that needs to be explored further. And we've been getting insight post-time skip that Sengoku wasn't all... Like, there's more to him, and he's not innately as hard-assed as he was before, and he, like, steps outside of marine bounds to, like, talk to Law, take in Corazon, things like that. So I think Sengoku is a character that is yet to be explored more. I think he's not a God Valley because I don't think he's strong enough. I don't think he's strong enough. Sengoku, in terms of strength, is plummeting down my rankings, personally. I do think now he's the Helmeppo to Garp's Kobe. And that's not to say that Sengoku's not still like Admiral level, Fleet Admiral level, or whatever, but I've always believed that Pirate King level, which is where I put Garp, is a lot higher than that. So I put Sengoku as, you know, that's what I think. I think he's the Helmeppo to Garp's Kobe. No shame in that. It's just like at that level, Pirate, like the Helmeppo to a Pirate King level character is like an Admiral, Fleet level Admiral level character to me. King G, thanks for the 5. Betrayal seems to be Rox' downfall. Roger and Whitebeard are BFFs. Whitebeard never mentions Rox. Does Whitebeard betray him? If so, does this change his character for you? I'm curious to see where Kaido's belief that pirates will abandon you when they know you're going to lose comes from. Because I don't think Whitebeard would abandon Rox. It's really hard to understand. Conspiracy theory that just popped in my head. This would be wild if it's true. But what if... What if, let's say Kaido gets knocked out for a moment, right? Because he's still young, weak, okay? In the meantime, Rox gets Dami reversied, okay? Whitebeard sees that. Whitebeard realizes Rox is not the man not the same person anymore. Whitebeard leaves. And then Kaido wakes up and sees that and is like, oh my god, Whitebeard abandoned Rox because Rox lost to him. And this is going down too much of a rabbit hole. But I'm curious what makes Kaido believe, because from Kaido's perspective, shouldn't it be the opposite? He's like, yeah, we're all standing by our captain Rox while he's taking on literally the strongest being on the planet, you know? I don't know. It's interesting where that goes. Shattered Glass, thanks a lot. Can't wait for Emu to one-shot everyone next chapter, lol. I don't know. I'm really curious about Emu's level of strength. Let's wait and see. Obsidian Angel, thanks for the 2. We're calling those regen merchants the Holy Ropo. That's funny. Elias Tavares, thanks for the 2. Rox getting reverse seed is a lame way to go out. It's a sad way to go out, and I think that could end up being the point, which is like this man who fought for rebellion, freedom, overthrowing the powers that be for so long goes down basically as a puppet to them. Let's see how it plays out, but I really hope Rox does not get Dami reverse seed. That goes against what I want for the character, but I could see Oda going that route, especially if Oda does actually want to set up a Roger and Garp versus Rox scenario. Cody Abbott, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 2 months, man. I hope you're enjoying it. Kaido and Whitebeard don't seem to dislike Rox or glaze Roger like they did in the modern day. What do you think happens so drastic to change their opinions? Rox doesn't seem like a bad dude, and Roger a good one. So, to be fair, Whitebeard has shit on Rox for all of Rox's flashback. The entire flashback. Literally, Whitebeard, if you go read 1096, like, read the introduction, like the start of the Rox Pirates introduction, and Whitebeard is shitting on Rox. That guy's not my captain, whatever. All the way to 1096, Whitebeard's walking in and being like, Rox, that fucking idiot. Like, Whitebeard is always kind of shit on Rox, okay? But just because he shits on Rox doesn't mean that he doesn't still feel a sense of camaraderie and loyalty to him underneath all that, okay? I also don't think that Whitebeard speaks negatively of Rox in the future. I don't think Kaido speaks negatively of Rox in the future either. I think they just don't speak on him as far as I recall, unless I'm forgetting some specific quote. But they do like Roger a lot. I think that there might be something at God Valley that happens to give them a really positive impression of Roger. Something really impressive. Nervain V-Maker, thanks for the 5. Also, the Garling slander this week was hilarious. Did you see the fake toy commercials about how easily the Garling figure can break? Yeah, that was really funny. Bono21, thanks for the 2. Roger greater than Rox, decisively post God Valley. Kaido's words in Wano. I think that Roger will get a Haki Bloom here. I'm still holding out for that. So I think that's possible. Damian Wright, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 25 months. We better see an extended fight sequence here or I'm losing the little faith I have in One Piece fights. Tired of just clashes. If Oda can give us like several pages or a few pages for Rox versus Herald, I gotta hope that he gives us something more than just some clashes here. I believe. Tiptier Treviso, thanks for the 2. I sent my message to your email. Thanks, man. I will read that before end of stream for sure. I promise you. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. I think Garling sent female God's Knights after Rox's family. Yeah, maybe that's possible because we don't see her afterwards. Henchme976, thanks for the 5. Mihawk stands treats swordsmanship like a gender identity, not a martial art. If you pick up a sword and swing it around, your entire being transforms. Look, man, I just don't think it's that complicated. I think it's just they fight with a sword. They primarily fight with a sword. It's like world's strongest swordsman. You should beat anyone in a sword fight, right? I think it'd be really weird if the story ends and Zoro's calling himself the world's strongest swordsman, but he can't beat Shanks in a sword fight, you know? 10K, thanks for the 2. Again, my argument has always been that we don't know the ceiling of Haki. Shanks has so much hype and build-up. It's very possible that there is levels to Haki that we don't yet know of that go beyond just coating it with a sword, right? That's always been my argument. But if over the course of this flashback we see that no, it pretty much taps out at coating your sword with Haki and swinging your sword around, then for me, for the time being, it's going to be case closed, and I'll just be like, logically, I don't see how Shanks is stronger than Mihawk. I don't see a route. The Joy Boy Haki moment is the one shining example of the counter-argument, right? But I think we need to see in action what that looks like here, okay? Like, I believe that, I don't want to get too into the nitty-gritty details or whatever, but the Joy Boy Haki moment, which is like the strongest Haki we've seen, like Haki attack that we've seen in the story that doesn't involve like coding or anything like that. That is like the big shining thing in terms of like it's even implied that Shanks can do that too, right? But if we basically see that like ultimately it all comes back to coding, right? Then it all comes back to coding. And if Mihawk is stated to be better in a sword fight than Shanks, which is what is established, then that means that he still wins that, right? Because ultimately in a fight they're going to be swinging their swords using coding if that's what we see with Roger and Rox. 10K, thanks for the 2. How do you explain Mihawk's feelings towards Shanks? I don't know. Former rival? Isn't that basically it? How do I explain Mihawk? Former rival, Mihawk doesn't want to duel him anymore because he lost his arm, right? Isn't that the feelings? The Lowman, thanks for the 5. If there's 2 humans, Mark and David, and Mark is the strongest human, is Mark stronger than David? Yes or no? Yeah. Yeah, what's the debate there? Eric Torlato, thanks for the 2. Lol, Mihawk top 1 all time because Black Blade then? I think I already acknowledged this question. I think I answered this earlier. But no, I don't think I mentioned Black Blade once. All this would establish, like, Black Blade is his own thing. We have no context whatsoever for what Black Blade means. But we do know how characters with swords fight so far, right? If it's established that it's basically like Haki tops out at coating your sword, swinging around, and that's all Shanks can do. That's all Roger and Rox do. That's all Shanks can do. That's all Mihawk does. Then Mihawk is stronger than Shanks because Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman today. We don't know who the world's strongest swordsman was back in the day. Maybe Rox, maybe Harold, maybe Roger after this, but today it's Mihawk. Ira, thanks for the 2. Mihawk is as strong as whatever end of story Zoro is, and right now Final Saga Zoro is clashing with the Yonko 2 for months. It's not looking good for Mihawk. Mihawk is not as... I don't even know what... This is the thing. I feel like a lot of Mihawk agenda is driven by Zoro agenda, which is dumb because, like, Zoro's gonna be... Like, right there, what you just said is not even true. Mihawk is as strong as whatever end of story Zoro is. So, is it a tie for world's strongest swordsman at the end? I thought the whole idea is that Zoro becomes the world's strongest swordsman, which means that, no, he will be stronger than Mihawk at the end. I think people, like... I don't get why people are like, if you limit Mihawk in any way, then that is limiting Zoro. Zoro is strong. Zoro's end of story Zoro is above Mihawk. End of story Zoro beats Mihawk. That's the whole point of the story. It's not going to be a fucking tie. This is not Naruto and Sasuke. This is a fucking student surpassing the teacher. End of story Zoro ranks above Mihawk. That's... I don't get it. I don't get it, man. Final Saga Zoro is clashing with the Yonko 2 for months. It's not looking good for Mihawk. Yes, that part is true. But, to be fair, it seems like Gaban basically spelled out that Zoro, as of right now, can't consciously control his Conqueror's Haki. You could go back a little bit one arc prior to Egghead, and I could flip the script and say that when Zoro is using Ashura, which he has not busted out since, Ashura Zoro shat on Kaido, despite being severely handicapped with like all his bones in his body broken. A single attack from Ashura Zoro scarred Kaido forever. And Mihawk is definitely stronger than Ashura Zoro with all of the bones in his body broken, right? So if Zoro does that to Kaido with one attack, imagine what the fuck Mihawk would do to Kaido if every one of his attacks is stronger than what Zoro did. That's like, you can, if you want to base it off of Zoro's lows, which is like against Lucci, then yeah, that's not good for Mihawk. But flip side, if you want to base it off of Zoro's highs, which is like scar Kaido with one attack despite being like severely handicapped, and Kaido taking it very seriously because it's established that Kaido does not want to get hit by Zoro's attacks in prior chapters, then it's just like, well, fuck. Mihawk scales above Kaido. Anyway, continuing on. Whale, thanks for the 2. Roger and Rocks didn't show Observation Killer. But wouldn't that be involved in a sword fight? You think Shanks turns off his Observation Haki in a sword, like Observation Killer in a sword fight? That doesn't make any sense. King G, thanks for the 5. Shanks is a Blackbeard victim. S-Hawk shook Blackbeard in his boots. Mihawk clears S-Hawk. Shanks is a one-arm has-been who got some clout. That man is a rat and a scrub. Okay, we don't have to go that far. Come on, man. But whatever Blackbeard scaling is right now is not relevant to Blackbeard scaling later. Shanks is a Blackbeard victim for end-of-story Blackbeard. Not Blackbeard currently who, yeah, like, shat himself from S-Hawk and took hits from Law or whatever. Miyaki Goat says Zoro was holding back versus Lucci. No, I think the Gaban basically explained it, which is that Zoro doesn't have conscious control over his Conqueror's Haki. I don't think Zoro could choose, like, if Zoro could have just ended the fight with Lucci earlier, he would have, but I think it took the moment of Sanji triggering Zoro for Zoro's Conqueror's Haki to come out, and then he cut Lucci. I don't think there's, like, we don't need a headcanon explanation anymore. Gaban already pointed out what's going on with Zoro. Goomba Boomba, thanks for the 5. Been loving the God Valley chapters, but feel like every chapter is ending with double page spread of Rocks Pirates posing, getting old. Also, new posters go hard. Thank you for mentioning the new posters. For those of you who are ogling those posters, I know you guys can't get your eyes off of it because they are very, very beautiful. Let me show them to you guys right now. Yeah, these are the brand new collection. All the pirate ship posters, and I think what people might be missing is that we got all the crews for these posters as well. Speaking of Shanks, if you zoom in, you got the red-haired pirates. You got Shanks here, Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo. I think this is fucking Yasop up here. It's all the crews and all the ships. So that's the beauty of it. This one's one of my personal favorites because if you click into Thriller Bark, at the very, very top, you can see oars right there. So yeah, we've got a great deal running right now for the ships. You can get 2, and then you get another. You can buy 2, get 2 free. And if you're one of our first 30 to jump on that specific deal, then you also get the Going Merry thrown in for free. And the Going Merry is an exclusive, so it's only one of the first 30 that can get it. So if you want the Going Merry, you got to jump in the deal and be one of the first 30. I do think we are almost out of the deal. So after today, it is unlikely that you'll be able to get the Going Merry because a lot of people have already gotten the buy 2, get 2 deal. So yeah, if you want the ships, just head to One Dream Studio, hit the link that I've got at the top. Yeah, make sure you get your collection today. Continuing on. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick because we're almost there. Yeah, man, I do agree that there has been a lot more posing than actual action. I don't need that much action, but like little bits and pieces, like, you know, Garp rolling up on the 3 Emperors, throwing that attack, then Big Mom firing back, then Garp powering through that attack. That's all I really need. I do hope for something more elaborate here for the fight versus Evil, but I don't need anything crazy. It's just don't off-screen this one, man. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 5. Oda's still going to glaze Shanks more every single time, so even if Mihawk is technically stronger, it's not going to feel like it. Look, man, like, for me, I'm just trying to take I think I've always gotten emotionally heated at times with the Shanks versus Mihawk stuff because, like, I've never personally felt that strongly about Shanks versus Mihawk in itself. But I have always gotten emotionally irritated and I guess rage baited or triggered or whatever by the insinuation, by like people strongly saying like your perspective on this is stupid or makes no sense. Like the notion that Shanks could be stronger than Mihawk. Okay, that's what's always like. It's not that I care that much about the who's stronger in and of itself, and I think I've always said that I'm open to the idea of like Mihawk being stronger if once we're shown everything Shanks can do. But I think I've been bothered, like I have been emotionally bothered by, or I get riled up when people are like, why wait to see what Shanks can do? Why not just say Mihawk is stronger right now? That's what's bothered me because I'm like, no, I want to see if we have already reached the pinnacle of Haki or not. I want to see if it taps out at like coating your swords with Haki. I want to know that before I'm like, okay, yeah, Mihawk is definitely above Shanks. That's the only thing. Now that we're reaching the point in the story where it seems we're going to find out if things kind of top out at coating your sword with Haki, I'm good. After this, I'll feel fine with basically being like, okay, looks like that's the peak of Haki. I'm giving it to Mihawk unless we're shown otherwise down the line. That's it. I think I've always just been irritated by people being like, well, you're not allowed to have the view of wait and see. That's my thing. Like, so for me, for this, after this point, like, I'm interested to see how this goes. And, if they just use sword attacks with Haki coating, that's it. I'm good. I feel happy not having to feel emotionally invested in the conversation again, I think. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5. Any other thoughts you had on my Pirate King post about Luffy's pirate cape for the war as a whole? I don't think the cape's going to be... So what Justin Holland mentioned in the Pirate King podcast submissions was that maybe in the war, Luffy's cape will be kind of like Batman's utility belt situation, where he has lots of items or like pellets or food or things like that he can pull out. I don't know about that. Also, Gear 5 can allow him to pull out a lot of stuff that he can eat. So I don't think we've seen any sort of setup for that personally. And 2, he said Garp might be winging it in changing the world. I think that I expand on this more in next Tuesday's video, so just wait for that. But Garp has already changed the future of the world. He's already changed the future of the world. You know what the future of the Marines looks like thanks to Garp's mentorship? Very positive. Yeah, we're in like the Akainu era right now, but Akainu's not going to be Fleet Admiral forever, right? The future of the Marines was built by Garp. The future of the Marines is going to be guys like Kobe, fucking Helmeppo, that entire group that raided Hachinosu. And that's all Garp's influence. Even fucking Smoker to some degree, right? That's all Garp's influence. Garp already did. By Garp choosing to stay in the Marines and trying to change, like, have influence and impact from the inside, he did something very important, which is down the line, he set it up so that things will be different. Because without Garp, you don't have Kobe. You don't have the future of the Marines. You don't have that whole squad at Hachinosu. You just have, like, people like fucking Kong spreading their philosophies of like being a bootlicker, Akainu of absolute justice and stuff like that. But no, we've already been shown that thanks to Garp, the future of the Marines will be different down the line, right? And we know the Marines aren't going away. It's established that like the world will always need the Marine force because you do need, what do you call, like in no island that Luffy is freed has he freed it and then it just has no law enforcement ever. It's always about reform, right? You want to replace the bad previous regime with a good regime, right? But they still all have law enforcement. It's just now it's like instead of fucking like NL's priests running everything, now it's like God's guardians are like Wiper and the Chandrins and stuff like that, right? Like that's the case for every single island, right? So the same applies to the One Piece world. The Marines are terrible, but they need to be reformed, right? Thanks to Garp, that's what's going to happen. I don't think people appreciate that because like if you don't have Garp doing what he does, then there is no future of the Marines that's positive. It's just always going to have a shitty culture inside. Love says, but Green Bull. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the current generation, right? That's part of the current generation. Garp's Green Bull, but like the future of the Marines. We already know the future of the Marines isn't Green Bull, right? All the upcoming, like the next wave of Marines, the hero of the Marines right now, the next year of the Marines is Kobe, right? That entire squad, that's what's going to run shit down the line. That's just the reality of it. And that's thanks to Garp. D Mills 1080, thanks for the 5. Ugh, voice crack. I have a theory that Shanks stopped Kaido from going to Marineford because he would have helped Whitebeard just from the last panel of this chapter. It is so baffling what Shanks was trying to do with that whole situation. Maybe Shanks is rat. I'm just kidding. I don't think he's rat. But I'm very curious what happened with Kaido's motivations and Shanks' motivations or whatever the fuck. Jacob says Smoker and Fuji are better morally and yet less impactful. Dick so small I piss on balls, thanks for the 5. Shamrock's only display is beating on a chained up man, just like his bum ass daddy. Let's see what comes of Shamrock. Mono 21, thanks for the 2. If Roger and Rock show no new Haki, Ashura is still a type of Haki that we have yet to understand, right? But it's still used as a method for basically the same type of Haki combat that we've been seeing, which is swinging your sword, your weapon, and coating it with Haki, right? It's just that, but with more steps, right? So unless we see a type of Haki combat that is not coating your weapon with Haki and swinging it, right? Unless we see something that's not that, I would no longer have an argument personally. Maybe you guys can make up arguments, but I no longer am going to be making arguments that Shanks can beat Mihawk by this or this. Unless I think, which I don't think, but unless you want to go the argument that, like, well, what if Shanks likes to put his sword away and fight with his fist and fight with his fists? I don't think that's the case. So, and in that case, Shanks would for some reason have to be stronger with his bare knuckle fists than his sword, but he also always uses his sword. It's like, Mihawk, I'm going to duel you. But even though I could beat you if I just use my fists, I'm going to pick up a weapon to make this an even fight. That'd be funny. I don't think that's the case. Eric, thanks for the 2. Roger has to be special in some way. Dude, I hope so too, man. Look, you and me both. That is what I have long believed, right? We're on the same page. We have long believed the same thing, which is that there's probably some additional ceiling to Haki, right? We've long believed that, right? However, if we get down to it and it's revealed that there isn't something else, then you just got to be objective, fair, and unbiased. You got to let the agenda go at that point, right? That's it. Like, you can't keep clinging on to the idea that, like, there is something extra special if it's shown that there isn't. That's it. At that point, you just got to tip your hat and be like, okay, Mihawk's stronger. That's just, I personally think that is the biggest problem with the One Piece community, which is that, like, evidence can be shown straight up, but people will still cling on to their previous beliefs because they're just too deeply rooted in the agenda, okay? Again, that's why I personally feel like if you look at my power scaling list and, like, how I rank things or whatever, I've always been flexible. I'm down to change things even if I've argued vehemently in the other direction in the past. Right? I just go by what I'm shown. I just go by what I'm shown. If there's new evidence, I will change, I will revise my opinions. It's impossible to have a correct power scaling list from the beginning. Nobody can have that. Nobody's ranking every single character correctly right off the bat from their introduction. Characters introduced, you're given a perception of them. You can only speculate as to where they're stacked amongst everybody else. You get little bits and pieces of additional evidence, but nobody gets it all right from the beginning. Nobody, like, was introduced to fucking Big Mom and was like, aha, I know Big Mom ranks exactly 11th in the all-time power ranking list. That's not a thing, right? So that's the big thing. I think One Piece, hype characters are introduced. Readers get very attached to these hype characters. I just love Kizaru so much. I just love Kaido so much. I just love Mihawk so much. And then because you love the characters so much, you ignore when new pieces of evidence are shown one way or another. That's my opinion. I think that's the thing. That's all I got to say. All right? $80 Wolf, thanks for the, what the fuck, 75? Oh my god, man, what the fuck? Thank you. I don't know if what currency that is, but thank you very, 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 very much. I do appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much, man. Whitebeard will have to kill Rocks if he got dommied. And a witness in God Valley will tell Teach, which will make it more sad. Oh my god. Shit, you think that's what's gonna happen? I hope not. That'd be tragic. That'd be fucking tragic. Also, let's get stream likes up to 300 real quick. That'd be really, really tragic. Man. Yeah. Man, yeah, that'd be... I don't know if that's gonna happen. I don't know if Blackbeard had a personal vendetta against Whitebeard ever. I think it's just that Blackbeard felt like Whitebeard ultimately had to be a means to an end for him. Tom, thanks for the 2. Who wins? Sneak attack Kaido versus off-screen Blackbeard. Off-screen Blackbeard doesn't lose, but neither does sneak attack Kaido. Continuing on. Oh my god. Okay, let me really try and go a little bit faster because we've got so many comments today. This is a very exciting chapter, so I understand, but man, my voice is getting tired. Okay. Bane, thanks for the 5. Do we agree that Emperor Shanks has stronger Haki than two-arm Shanks? If the answer is yes, Mihawk thinks Shanks got weak after losing his arm and sword skills. I just don't think any of that's relevant because I think that Mihawk, I think it's established in Vivre card that Mihawk is, it's the world's strongest swordsman title isn't just a title. He is the strongest swordsman, so it's just not really relevant. It's just what matters for the story is that whenever Zoro beats the world's strongest swordsman, Zoro becomes the world's strongest swordsman, right? So it's more so about Zoro's dream. Vivre cards can be wrong, though, because the whole Katakuri, I know there was some discussion about the Katakuri situation, Katakuri's fruit, and all of that stuff. So, because Big Mom apparently got a fruit for Katakuri here, but Katakuri already had his devil fruit at this point in time. So, Vivre cards have always had, once in a while, some, contradictions, but Oda says to take them as canon. So it's complicated. I don't know how to view Vivre cards exactly, but Mihawk needs to be the world's strongest swordsman, right? The argument for Shanks, in my mind, has always been, if there is an argument for Shanks, it has to be with him not using the sword. That's the only way it makes sense. He can't be it can't be, to be specific, it can't be a sword swing, it can't be a sword slash, it can't be a sword, it can't be an attack that relies on the sword. Does that make sense? Meek, thanks for the 5. Hey, first chapter I haven't translated at all in a while. Haven't even read the chapter yet. Personal stuff. How's the chapter? Chapter was fucking amazing, man. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. Part 2, thank you for answering my Partkin question. Of course. I actually edited, so you didn't get to answer the full question. Oh, my bad. What would you have changed in Wano besides raid fail? Besides raid fail, I would have just more tension. That's an easy one, but also more focus on either cutting a lot of the side characters, so cutting down the roster of side characters, or making the arc longer to give more focus on side characters like Kid, Law, stuff like that. I don't want the characters to just feel like their only relevance is they appear on the rooftop to fight Kaido and then Big Mom or whatever, but in terms of character writing, it doesn't feel like anything deep for them, you know? Also, I think Zoro in Act 2, his Act 2 writing should have connected much better to what happens with him in Act 3. I think that's a big part. iSun, thanks for the 5. Because I think either make the storylines connect or cut a lot of the fluff for Zoro for Act 2. Just give him Enma, because that's all that really mattered. iSun, thanks for the 5. Given Prime Zebek, Conqueror's Haki has the same effects as old Gaban. Does that confirm that there's another level to Conqueror's Haki Confusion or another advanced application to it? Yeah, it does seem like there's something more that can be done to stop the regeneration. Starbright, thanks for the 5. Gaban casually blocking one of Rox's starter members with one hand and without struggling at all is such a crazy choice by Oda. Yeah, I think that's cool. I would still prefer that, Gaban and really get some more, meaningful fights. It's cool to see them, casually low-diffing characters like Sommers and, Rox's lower members, but I would like to see him against some stronger characters, personally. Daniel, Taglo, thanks for the 5. Do you think it's possible Rox didn't get reverse-seed, but Roger and Garp did instead? I don't think so. Maybe. I mean, anything's possible, but I don't think so. If you're right, that'd be crazy. Rigoberto Salorzano, thanks for the 5. You ever seen the connection between the original Stargate movie from the 90s and One Piece? I've never seen the Stargate movie, so I'm sorry. I can't help you there. I don't know what the connection is, but maybe I'll look into it. Mube, thanks a lot. I don't think Pirate King is so much higher than Yonko or Fleet Admiral. Roger in his prime did say to bring Sengoku or Garp to capture him. Garling is trash. I I mean, he said for like a little bit of a challenge, bring someone like Sengoku, right? Garp is his level, right? Garp is his level. Garp is Pirate King level, right? He did say bring Sengoku for like a little bit of a challenge, and I don't think Rocks had no challenge with Garling, because Rocks at the end was like huff, you know, like he put in some exertion. It's not like Roger's saying like bring Sengoku because he's the only one who can fight me equally. It's just like anybody else is like a zero diff for Roger. If like in the entire Marines, there's really only two characters that can give him any sort of fight. Garp, extreme diff fight, whatever, goes whatever way, right? Sengoku maybe gives like the same level of fight that Garling gave Rocks, which is like, you know, a little bit of a workout, but nothing crazy. I don't think there's anything contradictory there. You need something? Oh. And then I do think Pirate King is much higher than Yonko, because the simple example to me is like old life support Whitebeard. Like Whitebeard on literal life support was still Yonko. Like he's still Yonko level. I know that people try to discredit and be like, well, no, he doesn't count as Yonko level after that point when he's on life support, but like he still split this guy with Shanks, you know? I think once Whitebeard was at Marineford itself, that's when you saw like Whitebeard probably like because Oda nerfed him even further at Marineford. Marineford, he was off his life support. He got like before he even entered the battle, Oda handicapped him again by having Squard stab him through the back, through the stomach or whatever, right? So take whatever level Whitebeard already was, like significantly weakened, and then weaken that even further. And then once Whitebeard entered Marineford, then he's getting hit by bullets, by cannonballs, yada yada yada. And so at that point, Whitebeard's probably no longer Yonko level. But when Whitebeard's introduced post time skip, when Whitebeard's introduced in the story, two things are established. He can still split the sky, which is basically symbolic of being Yonko level, right? But he is way, 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 way weaker than he was in his prime. So, you know, if you want to say Whitebeard was maybe the bottom of Yonko level, it's like whatever, but still seemed to be Yonko level pre-Marineford. Once he's deep into the Marineford battle, everything, like, he's got a hole in him, he's got a million cannonballs, bullets, etc. At that point, he's, like, quickly deteriorating, right? But Whitebeard, as of when he met Shanks, still Yonko level, right? So that suggests to me that Pirate King level is a lot higher. I think we'll get more confirmation if we see Garling in action in other ways in the current day. But that's my perception so far. Lil Emu, thanks for the 5. I saw someone say that Eris is Emu, that it's a setup. She did the Dami Reversi and now teaches Emu's kid the One Piece World Antichrist lol. So, like, that just leads to such weird imagery of Rocks and Emu. Like, that, I don't think Eris is Emu. I think that'd be crazy. That's like a fucking Sukuna in Jujutsu Kaisen situation where Eris, Emu slept with Rocks. I don't even know. Maybe it's true, but I think it's fucking insane to think about that. I'm not going to think about it. Let's get stream likes up to 300 real quick because we're almost there. Jordan Duhart, thank you for the 10. Love the content more. Thank you very much. I will actually see Roger and Garp. I think we'll see Roger and Garp get Dami Reversi'd, not Rocks. We've only seen the power used on 2 or more people, plus it makes more sense based on what we know now. Does it make more sense, though? I don't know, man. That'd be really sad. Like, I mean, it's sad how it goes down either way. But it's like, then what frees Roger and Garp? Why would Emu let them go? Does Rocks free them? I don't know. And plus, Kaido comes away with it with like a really high opinion of Roger and stuff like that. I just don't know if that's the way things go down. New X7, thanks for the 5, man. Good to see you. Dragon's tattoos are connected to his mom. He got his morality from her and why he's not dumb like his father and son. Yeah, maybe Dragon's mom has to be a fucking genius to balance out those dumb genes. Missing Marine is man marked by flames. Oh, that'd be interesting. That'd be really interesting. The tattoos being connected is also an interesting route. Because we don't know what they mean yet. Trader X, thanks for the 2. Prime Rocks versus Prime Mihawk. Who you got? Rocks. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5. Okay, let me put it like this. My feeling is that end of story Zoro, I personally think end of story Zoro, his ceiling. Okay, see if this makes sense. Okay, I think end of story Zoro will be equal to Luffy without the fruit. Okay, so just like Haki to Haki, I think Zoro will be right up there with Luffy, personally. Okay, it's the fruit that makes Luffy next level. That's my opinion. Okay, so follow me here. I think Luffy without the fruit will be equal to the previous Pirate King level characters, aka Roger and Rocks. Okay, the thing that makes Luffy Joy Boy level or whatever. This is silly power scaling stuff, but this is just how I view it. Is the fruit. Okay, but I think end of story Luffy, just him without the fruit, just pure Haki or whatever, I think it's equal to Prime Roger. I think, like, even Kaido's fight with Luffy seems to suggest to me that, like, Luffy needs to get to Roger's Haki level. He should be Pirate King level even without the Devil Fruit. The Devil Fruit puts him to a whole different god status or whatever, but Luffy himself should be Pirate King level, okay? So I think, like, Rocks, Roger, Luffy, I think end of story, like, Luffy just without, I'm repeating myself, but you get what I'm saying. I think Luffy without any of that should be Pirate King level just on his own. No fruit needed, right? I think end of story Zoro, the ceiling that I see him at is, like, equal to Luffy without the fruit. I don't think Oda would write a situation where end of story Zoro is stronger than Luffy without the fruit, because that would basically mean that Zoro, just as a Haki fighter, is above Luffy, and Oda has always kept Luffy ahead of Zoro, even in terms of Haki proficiency, stuff like that, okay? But I think end of story Zoro could catch up, all right? So, by my line of reasoning, and it's not necessarily correct, it's just how I kind of feel things might be, Zoro, where he ends up, might also be, like, Pirate King level, okay? Because I think that's where no fruit Luffy ends up. I think Zoro end of story should be about equal to no fruit Luffy. I think no fruit Luffy is Pirate King level, like Prime Roger, Prime Rocks, okay? He's Prime Whitebeard, okay? So that's what I'm thinking. And that means that Mihawk needs to be a bit weaker than that. Because otherwise Zoro can't beat Mihawk. You see what I'm saying? So that's my view right now. We'll wait and see. Like, Mihawk has to be, wherever you place end of story Zoro, even if you're like end of story Zoro equal to Prime Roger, equal to Prime Rocks, equal to fucking Prime Whitebeard or whatever, right? Logically, you got to put Mihawk below that, because Zoro will beat me. Zoro has to be stronger than Mihawk, right? If you think end of story Zoro is above Pirate King level, he's stronger than Prime Roger, Prime Whitebeard, Prime Rocks, yada yada. If you have end of story Zoro there, then there's an argument that Mihawk is Pirate King level himself. I don't think Zoro's like, I mean, Zoro's really important in One Piece, but I don't think he's supposed to be stronger than like he maybe, yeah. I think, like, same way I think no fruit Luffy will be equal to Roger, I think Zoro will be right there. That's kind of where I think. Fully Cooley says you're reaching so hard. This is like maybes, right? That's it. Like, maybe Zoro's not supposed to be equal to end of story Luffy. Maybe Zoro's not supposed to be equal to Roger. I'm just saying, like, where I kind of put my ceiling for Mihawk, because Mihawk has to be weaker than Zoro. So it's like, where do you put end of story Zoro? Maybe it's not as strong as Roger or Prime Whitebeard or something, right? Maybe it's just Yonko level, okay? So then you put Mihawk a little bit, whatever. I think Mihawk, no matter what, is Yonko level. It's just like, how high does he scale? I don't know. Depends on where you view end of story Zoro. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5. How Kaido, and these aren't like concrete views. I don't know how strong end of story Zoro is. I'm just ballparking it. I'm like, maybe it'll be equal to Luffy without the fruit. That's it. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5. How Kaido and Big Mom, and that's the upper end. That's the upper end. I don't think end of story Zoro would be above Luffy without his fruit, personally. How Kaido and Big Mom were when they were younger kind of reminds me of how we talked about how Luffy has all the Emperor's best qualities and dreams. Yeah, Kaido and Big Mom were like likable characters genuinely back in the day. Definitely likable characters. Very likable characters, and I think, I don't know, they just, what they become after this whole God Valley thing is just such giant assholes. The Lowman, thanks for the 5. Shanks primarily fights with a sword and is stated to be a sword master. Debate should be over. But this is, okay, again, this is where I get, like, irritated, because this is where you're pushing the buttons. It's just like, what more do you want, man? I'm giving you, I'm literally like, okay, I'm ready to read the chapters and find out. Like, Let's find out. Maybe there's nothing else to be done outside of sword attacks with Haki. Like, we're here. I'm happy to find out. I'm like, I feel like I'm being as, flexible as possible with this opinion, which is just like, I just want to wait and see if there's nothing beyond the sword Haki attacks. That's it. That's all I want to wait and see. But you're just like, no, the debate's over right now. You're not even allowed to want to wait and see. It's like, that's what drives me crazy about the Mihawk fans. It's like, why can't we wait and see? What's wrong with that? Because, like, you know, like, way back, like, imagine we're reading One Piece Weekly and Luffy fights Crocodile in the desert. Okay, Luffy fights Crocodile in the desert. It's like, oh my god, you can't fucking touch Crocodile because he's made of sand. That means Crocodile must be stronger than Mihawk. And somebody else is like, no, let's wait and see. Maybe there's ways in the story to actually fight back against Logia. And it's like, no. It's not possible. Keep in mind, this is before we even found out about the water thing, right? Water we didn't find out till Luffy's second fight with Crocodile. So imagine round 1 against Crocodile, the community's just like, it's done. There's nothing else to see here. Crocodile, top 1 in the universe, except for maybe other Logias like Ace. That's it. It's like, maybe there's ways to fight these Logia users. It's like, no. There's nothing else to the power system in One Piece. We're done here. Let's wrap it up, call it a day. That's do you understand why that's like, I just don't view that as, like, why having an open mind can be fair in the long run? You see what I'm saying? Because, like, even with Haki, we only even found out that Conqueror's Haki could be used for, like, coding attacks, like, 100 chapters ago. Like, everything that, like, we're constantly getting new information about what can be done in One Piece and the power system of the world. That's why, if I'm just like, well, let's wait and see if there's something more with Shanks before we say, like, this is all he can do, I've always felt like that's a reasonable point of view. Because in One Piece, we're always learning new things, right? But this is it. This is why I'm happy with kind of, like, coming to a conclusion on that debate here. Because here is where we're kind of gonna get to see the ceiling, right? There probably isn't anything Shanks is going to be doing that, like, if Rox and Roger don't show stuff outside of swordsmanship, then that probably speaks for Shanks as well, right? So that's the ceiling. So I'm happy to view it and see it here. I don't know why Mihawk fans can't also just be like, all right, cool, let's wait and see. And then, like, you can celebrate once this battle is over or whatever, you know? Chris, thanks for the 5. Mihawk is stronger than Endgame Zoro. Unfortunately, Mihawk has blood cancer and will die, leaving Zoro as the strongest. Oh, that's good storytelling. Henchme976, thanks for the 5. Do you count Ashura as swordsmanship? Growing extra arms and heads just seems like cheating. I haven't seen that in any historical fencing treatise. Well, I mean, I haven't seen, like, like, Haki, lightning, and force fields in historical fencing treaties either. So, yeah, Ashura is swordsmanship. Because by that logic, then Zoro has to turn off Ashura against Mihawk. He's not allowed to use it because it doesn't count as swordsmanship. Cheesy Skull, thanks for being a Yonko team member for 16 months. Hey, Morge, will the Wano analysis drop before the Laugh Tale analysis? Yeah, for sure. Eric J.O., thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 24 months. Sup, Morge, after 2 years of being a member, my favorite theory of yours is Zoro kills Kaido. JK, but your video on that theory is hilarious, still a favorite. Dude, it hurts me so much that genuinely, online, there's a large faction of people that believe that Zoro killing Kaido is my theory. The only time I've talked about Zoro killing Kaido is when I put out a video explaining why that's stupid and never gonna happen. That's the only statement I've ever put out about Zoro killing Kaido. But a lot of people associate, like, oh, Morge, he drove, like, the raid failed thing. He probably also drove Zoro kill Kaido. It's like, no, man. I was, like, one of the biggest advocates against Zoro kills Kaido, but people just want to be upset about shit, and it's just like, okay, I don't even know what to say. Iro, thanks for the 5. Mihawk scales to whatever Zoro he loses to Morge, that's what I'm saying. To whatever Zoro he loses to Morge, that's what I don't understand. If Mihawk loses to a mere Admiral level Zoro, then Mihawk's a fraud. Yeah, but we assume that Zoro's going to get stronger by the end of the story, right? So, like, what's the... I don't get the logic behind that. Zoro's not fighting Mihawk tomorrow. I agree that if Zoro fought Mihawk tomorrow and Zoro's like at the same level as when he fought Lucci, then that makes sense, but that's not what's going to happen, I think most people would assume, right? The Lowman, thanks for the 5. A scar doesn't mean significant damage. It's narrative. For example, Jinbei took Akainu's attack head on and Luffy took less, but only Luffy got a scar. Bro, I mean, I don't even know how to respond to that, man. I don't like Oda in story made a big deal out of the fact that no one has scarred Kaido. Do you know how fucking biased you have to be to like go against what the story is literally telling you about the significance of being able to scar Kaido to just be like, nah, but it's not a big deal. It's like, dude, a scar is permanent damage. And it's like, okay, even if you want, let's say you want to downplay the scar. That was just one attack from Zoro. That's the only, Zoro just did that with one attack to Kaido, right? One attack to Kaido when, like, Zoro was at, like, what, 2% health? 1% health? Remind me again, what was Zoro dressed in after that rooftop battle? Was it a full body cast? So essentially, Zoro, who should have been in a full body cast, was able to, in a single attack, scar Kaido, right? So just think about how much stronger Mihawk is than that, and then think about, like, okay, well, what if Mihawk was fighting Kaido? Is every single attack Mihawk's doing permanently scarring Kaido? Because even if you want to be like, well, that one scar wasn't that big of a deal, it's like, okay, well, every single one of Mihawk's attacks is probably at least that strong, probably a lot stronger. So, like, when does the scars become a big deal? When do the scars become a big deal? Is it when, like, his body's riddled with them? When it's, like, 20 scars? 30 scars? Like, you think Kaido's tanking through all of that? Like, I just think that's such a reach of an argument, because it's just, like, even if you really want to downplay the scar, like, that was just one attack from a 2% health Zoro. It's like, okay, well, what about if Zoro was at full health? And then extrapolate, what if that was Mihawk instead of Zoro? And Mihawk's not going to stop after one attack, and Mihawk would be at full health. And it's going to be a lot harder than that scar, right? Like, how far do you want to go there? Like, Zoro versus Kaido is basically a little preview of, like, how Kaido versus Mihawk would go, and it's not a good look for Kaido. And if you want other examples of, like, Kaido fighting Swordsman, Kaido versus Odin did not go well for him. And it's like, well, Kaido got stronger. It's like, okay, Kaido versus Big Mom. Fucking tie. It's like, okay, well, Kaido wasn't in hybrid form. It's like, okay, well, then fucking Kaido versus Zoro. Like, you have so many examples to pick from. It never looks good for Kaido versus a swordsman. And Mihawk is like the tippy top for swordsman. He's way above the rest, right? I just don't understand what the argument for Kaido would be. Like, you know? Obsidian Angel, thanks for the 5. The last thing Teach saw was his dad swing his saber to cut an island in half to save his mom and him. The saber of Zebek rings more now. Oh, that's a good line. I like that. Jamari Cruz, thanks a lot. Blackbeard has Zebek and Eris' soul in him. That's why he doesn't seem to sleep. Oh, man. That would be crazy. And the man in Impel Down, level 5, is Zebek, but soulless now. Okay, I don't know about that part, but why would they put him in level 5? They'd put him in, like, level 8. They'd make a whole extra level called 7, skip that, and put Zebek in 8. That would be crazy if Blackbeard has Zebek and Eris' soul in him. Chris, thanks for the 5. A lot of people think that there will be no Marines after Endgame. That's dumb. Kobe will be known as the hero of the Marines that killed the Pirate King. Okay, I don't know about killing the Pirate King, but hashtag Kobe killing Luffy. I don't know about that. Anyway. Thomas Davis, thanks for the 2. Mord, you missed my member chat earlier. I'm sorry, man. Let me catch that. Hold on. Sorry. Hold on. Is there anybody else I'm missing? Thomas Davis. Let's see. Sorry, Thomas Davis. Hold on. There's a lot of scrolling today. I might have to pull out the specific tab that's tailored to this. Oh my god. Okay, Thomas Davis. I found you. Thank you very much for being a Yonko tier member for 29 months, man. Love God Valley, but kind of dislike rocks right now. Oh, no, dude, I addressed this. I did address this. Because you said he's too much of a good person, which is pretty boring. I said that I don't think he's a good person. Just to reiterate, I don't think he's a good person, He just loves his wife and kid, you know? And I don't think he's a bad person either. Like, he has values like loyalty to Harold, like stuff like that, right? He has good values, but at the same time, he isn't too bummed about, like, he will kill all of the members of his clan if he needs to because they've turned on him or whatever, and it's not going to tear him up inside, you know? He's an anti-hero. He's a great character. Yeah, if you go back and stream, you should be able to catch me answering that. Hold on. Where are we at? Okay. Dreams, thanks for the 5. I think many fans are much too concerned on power scaling rather than enjoying the story and character development. Haki has gone awry. I don't think that's the case, man. Because the story is literally... like, this is... why is it so hype right now, right? What is the excitement? Like, the excitement of the chapter is the fact that this is a battle with all the strongest characters in history. Like, this is inherently a power... You can't have all of the hype of the story be generated from, like, powerful characters going at it against one another, and then simultaneously be like, no, but you shouldn't care about power scaling, you should just enjoy the story. The story is this. It's a fucking, like, we're in a big-ass fucking battle, right? And we're getting good, like, narrative moments like Rayleigh saving Shaki and Garp finding out about the, you know, the truth of the Marines and everything, but, like, the final doubles-page spread that everyone is, like, nutting over is fucking the god of the world, the most powerful villain ever, right? Facing off against, like, the Pirate King and the future, like, Pirate King, like, the two Pirate Kings, Rox, Roger, and all of the future Yonko and everything like that. Like, that's why people are excited. It's not just like, oh my god, like, if you want to be like, oh, it's just because they're such good characters, it's like, no, we wouldn't be fucking, like, creaming ourselves if, like, this was fucking, like, Chopper and Usopp standing in front of Emu and stuff like that. No, it's fucking exciting because you've got all the fucking strongest characters, the heavyweights of the story, in one arena ready to duke it out. I just don't get the mentality that's like, power scaling's ruining the story. The story is hype right now because we know that these are the strongest fucking characters ever. That's what, like, Oda spending thousands of chapters building up. Roger, Whitebeard, like, Garp, then Emu, Rox, those type of characters. Oda is the greatest fight promoter of all time. That's why this is exciting. That's why we're so excited about the double-page spread. That's the whole, like, it's intertwined. It goes together. It's the same thing. That's why it goes together. That's what makes the story so exciting, because Oda built up the strength of all these characters. That's why Marineford was so exciting, because it's like, oh my god, these Admirals that Oda built up as, like, these monstrosity, super powerful characters. The Yonko that Oda built up for so long. Like, the fucking Shichibukai. Like, all of these characters that Oda spent so much time, like, devoting energy and narrative to building the strength and significance of, right? Like, all of that, he brings that together for these really epic showdowns, which are exciting because of the fucking power scaling. That's why it's exciting. When Luffy's standing in front of 3 Admirals, it's not just like, oh, Luffy's standing in front of 3 random Marines, I don't know how strong they are. It's like, no, this moment is exciting because Oda has spent many, many chapters in the past establishing how strong Luffy is, and that these 3 characters in front of him are like 100 times stronger. That's why this moment is exciting, because Oda put in the groundwork beforehand, the storytelling beforehand, to make us feel the weight and threat of these characters. That's what makes it exciting. It wouldn't work if you're just putting Luffy in front of Akainu, Kizaru, Aokiji. It's like, I wonder if this will be a problem for Luffy. It's like, no, it's exciting because they're fucking strong. Same situation right here. It's not just like, oh, it's fucking like, like Ganzui, Captain John, and fucking, I don't know, Wang Zi, a bunch of randoms or whatever facing Emu, and it's like, I wonder if this is a big deal. It's like, no, we know how big of a deal Whitebeard is. We know how big of a deal Rox is. We just saw him fucking spank Garling and stuff. We've seen how big of a deal Roger is, Garp is. I'm just so mind blown by people who try to pretend that One Piece's hype doesn't come from Oda's fucking power scaling. Oda spent a long time, like, give him credit for that. I think he's got the most exciting sort of power scale in manga. He's the best fight promoter. I'm not saying, like, he's the most consistent with it, but I'm saying in terms of, like, hyping up characters and the strength of characters over extended periods of time to create a sense of, like, holy shit, the level of this is just so insane. I think Oda is the best in the business at doing that. That's one of his biggest strengths. You can argue that maybe he's not consistent with aspects of power scaling, but in terms of like promoting his characters and like building up, like, you guys should be really hyped for Rox because Rox is so powerful. You guys should be really hyped for Imu because Imu is just like the strongest, the god, whatever, right? That's a big component of what makes One Piece hype. It's not like devaluing the story to be like excited about the power scaling. It's like, we're all looking forward to the end of the story when Luffy beats up Imu. Right? We're all looking forward to the end of the story when Zoro fights Mihawk. Why do we care about these things? Why do we care about these things? Why are these exciting components of the storytelling? The storytelling, it's about that. That's a large part of it. Yes, One Piece is about themes and characters and stuff, but the hype comes from the power scaling. And the hype is what everyone's fixating on in this chapter. It just annoys me. It's like, if you don't care about power scaling, then go read like Pride and Prejudice and shit or some shit. Why are you pretending that you don't care about this shit? Like, it's a fucking action manga. What is the fucking chapter? Where does the chapter leave off at? Go read like fucking To Kill a Mockingbird again. Go read Catcher in a Rye. The fuck are you doing here? Get out of this community. Chris, thanks for the 5. That probably went too far, but still. Chris, thanks for the 5. The final ceiling of Haki is the creation of original fruit abilities, but that hasn't been done since Void Century because the catalyst needed is... Oh, that's an interesting idea. Maybe it's the sun. Maybe it's the sun. Esteban BR says we're upset because he's not showing longer fights. I think that is a valid reason, but at the same time, I think Oda will show the fights that are important. In the mural video that I do, Chris, I give an elaborate theory for like where... the devil fruits come from, and it's somewhat tied to what you're saying. Cadmus, thanks for the 5. People are glazing Rox too hard now just because he has good writing. I've seen people say Rox greater than Joy Boy and Emu. I don't think Rox is greater than Joy Boy and Emu, otherwise Rox would have wrapped Emu up already, right? But let's see how the fight goes next chapter. Matthew Ponton says, no, this is not cooking lol. Power scaling doesn't mean anything without good writing. No one cares about Mihawk versus Zoro if it wasn't for Zoro's back storyline. Yeah, but I never said that power scaling is the only thing that matters. I said it's a crucial component of what makes One Piece exciting. That's all. It like, to pretend you don't care about that aspect of One Piece is to basically say that, like, when Luffy stood in front of 3 admirals, you literally thought nothing. You were like, I wonder how this could go. Which doesn't mean you're deep. It means you're dumb. Does that make sense? Not you specifically. I'm just saying people who claim that they don't care about power scaling are just basically people who are like, well, I don't understand anything about this story. Why is it hard to beat a Yonko? Why is it a big deal for Luffy to like set himself a challenge to try and fight Kaido and Big Mom? Like, why does this, like, what? How is this different from Luffy versus Caesar? It's like, you all fucking power scale. We all power scale. That's what makes the storylines exciting. That's why when Luffy's like, at Punk Hazard, he begins this mission to like one day take down Kaido. That's the excitement of the narrative. We know that Kaido is a lot stronger than Caesar. We know that Doflamingo is stronger than Caesar. So we know that Luffy going from Caesar to Doflamingo, oh, this is going to be more of a challenge, right? It's an increase in the stakes of the conflict, right? Luffy going from Doflamingo to Katakuri, we're stepping up again, right? All of this only matters if you understand basic power scaling, right? That's the whole fucking story's excitement is built on the sense of progression in terms of threat that the heroes are facing. You're basically saying you're too stupid to comprehend why certain conflicts or certain villains are more significant than others, a bigger threat than others, why the characters might be set up to struggle in certain situations more than others. Like, you're basically saying you don't fucking understand anything that's going because you're too deep for power scaling. I only care about themes and stuff like that. No, if you care only about themes, then you wouldn't be reading just One Piece because there's other stories that do that shit as their main focus. One Piece is a perfect amalgamation of a lot of great writing aspects. But the fights, the power scaling, that is a big aspect of it. It is good at the shonen stuff. Like, that's just a reality. And, like, that is a huge pillar of the story as well. All right, continuing on. Chris, thanks for the 5. Big Mom ain't raising them kids. She just hadn't seen Kata Kid in 5 years and didn't know he had a fruit. Goda is unassailable. That's a funny point. Maybe that's possible. Phil Leotardo, thanks for the 5. Historically, Oda always said the Gods Knights are nothing but a glorified crew. That Animal Garling, I can't even say his name. The man is a fucking disgrace. Oh my god. That's pretty harsh. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 20. Thanks, man. Genuinely sorry to bother you, man. Honestly, I'm just coping. Oh, man, you're not bothering me. What the fuck? You're supporting me. Thank you. You're not bothering me at all. Just because I go off in, like, angry tangents over things, it's not supposed to be personal. It's just, this is a stream. It's a stream of consciousness area for me. It's not personal. It's not like I'm upset at individual people. It's just that you guys have fun triggering me over things. It's just the way it goes. And I like going off on rants, and I think you guys enjoy it too, to some degree. Keep in mind, to some degree, I do play up my anger on stream quite a bit more. If you think I'm like this in real life, I'm not. I'm not just going off on angry rants over every little thing. I do sometimes, but that's just generally, this is for stream. For fun, for stream. I think you guys enjoy triggering me and making me angry about things. And this is really the only space where, like, I can get off my irritations with like agendas and like stuff like that or whatever, you know? It's not actually none of this is actually that big of a deal. Okay, so you're saying, I've been feeling for a long time that Oda's special boy treatment of Shanks is ultimately going to negatively impact Zoro's story. Oda isn't perfect. Yeah, of course, no, I don't think anyone thinks Oda's perfect, but I just don't want to rush to conclusions about things till we actually get to things. Like, keep in mind, I do think Oda really knows what he's doing, because Shanks, Zoro, those are some of the earliest characters that Oda ever created. Shanks, Zoro, Kobe, Luffy, like, those are characters that Oda probably has a very strong handle of what he wants to do down the line. Like, Shanks and Mihawk are the first two top tiers, not counting Roger, that are introduced into the story, right? So it's not like, I don't think Oda was just, like, confused about, like, wait, like I don't think he, like, usually if a writer accidentally has to retcon something or makes a mistake or something, it's because they're writing something like 200 chapters down the line that they didn't account for early on, right? But Shanks, Mihawk, Zoro, Luffy, these are core characters that Oda's introducing the story with. I don't think Oda started the story confused about, like, the potential contradiction of being like, I want Shanks to be stronger than Mihawk, but Shanks is a swordsman and Mihawk's going to be the world's strongest swordsman. I don't think he had a contradiction like that in mind, which means that whatever the answer to this is, the Shanks-Mihawk debate, Oda knew it from the beginning, right? And he already had that in mind from the get-go. And he had Zoro's storyline in mind from the get-go, right? I don't think Oda introduced Zoro 2 chapters after Shanks and was like, Zoro's going to become the world's strongest swordsman one day, and Shanks the world's strongest swordsman, but Zoro's never going to beat Shanks, he's going to beat some other guy. I don't think that was what was going through his mind, so whatever, Oda's got, like, just trusted him for this, right? Trusted him for this, right? Like, this is probably stuff that he knew from the beginning. These are core characters that he planned. He knows whatever the hierarchy is supposed to be between these characters by the end of the story. Mono21, thanks for the 5. You really think Ashura would just fall under the coding branch? Why not just change your view on what it is then? It isn't relevant to whether... If Shanks does something like Ashura, right? Let's say Shanks does something like Ashura, and if Shanks does Ashura and does some move that's not swordsmanship based, then you have a discussion, right? But Zoro does Ashura, and he does still use his sword, so it is swordsmanship based. Unless you're saying that Zoro's not allowed to use Ashura against Mihawk because it doesn't count as swordsmanship, right? I don't think this stuff is very complicated. I think people try to complicate it a lot. Are they sword attacks, you know? Sure, Ashura is no longer coding, but Zoro's using it for sword attacks, right? So that's all that really matters there. If Shanks does something, let's say like Ashura, let's pretend Shanks does something like Ashura, because Ashura is something that's Haki related, right? But Shanks still uses sword attacks, then obviously that still falls under swordsmanship, right? If Shanks does something like Ashura and then doesn't use sword attacks, then hey, now the debate's back open, right? That's the beauty of it. I just don't think it's not complicated. I think it's pretty black and white. Are you swinging a sword? Are you swinging a sword and using a sword to attack? Are you using a sword attack? That's it. You know? I don't think it's complicated. I just don't think it's complicated. Meek, thanks for the 2. Finally read the chapter. Incredible ending. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Beautiful chapter. Cadmus, thanks for the 5. What do you think Oda can do to make Imu the best written One Piece villain? Also, Oda needs to stop making the Gods Knights such bums and give them some love. I'm going to be honest. I don't think that Imu is going to be a very, very deeply written villain. I think that, I think Blackbeard will be. I think Akainu will be. I think that Imu, whether or not he's the final villain, I think Imu is just meant to represent something similar to an NL or a Saturn. Just a giant, pure, evil asshole that you want to feel a sense of catharsis in seeing him get defeated. I don't think Imu is supposed to be the deepest One Piece villain. And it's funny because, the latest Pirate King podcast, also people, I had a question about that, which was a very, very well put question. And I kind of just pointed out that if you go back through One Piece history, most One Piece villains, when we face them in the story, aren't deep villains. They're not meant to be deep villains. Oda's primary focus with them tends to be just making them the biggest asshole possible so that we feel a sense of catharsis when Luffy beats them up, so we can feel satisfaction of good defeating evil. Just run through the story, right? Axan Morgan, Alvida, Buggy. A lot of villains gain depth later on down the story, post-defeat. But during the point in the story that they're a villain that needs to be defeated, Oda doesn't actually like making them too sympathetic. Buggy, Kuro, Krieg, Arlong. Again, Arlong gets depth 500 chapters later, but in Arlong Park, he's just a giant asshole. He's just like a cackling, evil asshole. Comes in, I rule Arlong Park now because humans are inferior to me, and I'm the absolute ruler of this. Sha-ha-ha-ha-ha. Pretty fucking similar to Imu. I rule this place, Humans are inferior to me. I'm God. What I say goes. I can make people suffer if I want, right? Keep going. Crocodile. Giant asshole in Alabasta. We gain depth for him later, but in Alabasta, it's literally it's the most stereotypical villain shit. Go read chapter 200 where he's literally holding Vivi over an edge and giving a long villain speech about just what a giant asshole he is. I love seeing you suffer, and I'm just a mean, nasty old crocodile, and I love seeing you cry about how you can't save your country and how everyone's suffering, and I just really get off to this shit, and now I'm going to drop you. And then it feels really satisfying where Luffy comes flying in out of the sky, saves Vivi, and then just punches Crocodile in the face. Oda likes that sort of emotion. NL, same thing, just a giant fucking asshole. Lucci and Enies Lobby, giant fucking asshole. The funniest thing is Lucci's the first villain in One Piece that gets a backstory, and the backstory isn't to make him sympathetic. The backstory is to reinforce what a giant asshole he is. The backstory for Lucci is literally this dude, when he was 13 years old, he was sent in to save a bunch of hostages, and his solution was he just killed all the hostages. And then it was all right, cool. And then that's why it's so satisfying to see Luffy just hit Lucci with the Jet Gatling. That's just Oda's thing over the course of the story. Horty, not sympathetic. Fuck Horty. Caesar, not sympathetic. Fuck Caesar. Doflamingo gets a backstory so he gets some depth, but Oda still doesn't try to make him feel sympathetic by the time it comes down to it. The trend of Oda trying to flesh out villains and make you feel something a bit more for them, that's more recent. But if you look at the totality of One Piece, Oda just likes the feeling of setting up giant asshole for Luffy to beat the shit out of, and it feels really, really good and satisfying, right? It feels so satisfying to see NL get punched for the first time by Luffy, and he has that, when he realizes his powers don't work, he can't do anything to this dude. Sorry, I'm speaking fast now. It's just really satisfying. When Luffy hits Crocodile with the Goma Goma Storm, it's really satisfying because we feel no sympathy for that dude. We just hate him. We just hate Crocodile. We just hate Wapple. We just want to see them flying. That's, I think, an Oda staple, and it's one of the strengths of his storytelling. He does also write nuanced villainous characters, like Blackbeard, like Akainu. But I think with Imu, I don't know if Oda's going to go down that route because there's nothing that he could ever do to make Imu feel sympathetic in the slightest. Everything Imu has done is so fucking, cartoonishly evil. Literally, he's everyone is ants, and I'm gonna nuke this island. Literally, I'm gonna nuke this island. I'm gonna nuke this island because it's close. Turn an entire island into my slaves, because I can. It's just, Imu's, like, what even depth would you give to him? I think Oda could give us a backstory to understand, like, his past and maybe, like, give him some philosophies or something. But it's just, he's just like NL if NL, like, ruled the world, basically, is what we've seen so far, you know? Katakuri the only one? Yeah, and the funny thing about Katakuri is that that's precisely why Katakuri wasn't even written really like a villain. Katakuri was written more like a rival to Luffy by the end, who almost like practically let him pass. Gastino? Yeah, true. Gastino. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, that's not to say that Oda can't write nuanced villains, because, again, like, Blackbeard, I think, is going to turn out to feel like a very nuanced villain. I have hopes for Akainu as well. I think that Imu, I would expect, like, I don't think I think different villains will fit different molds, and I think that Blackbeard will be our more complex villain, but Imu will be just the ultimate, like, amalgamation of all the giant asshole characters that Oda has written in the story so far. Just fuse all of that into, like, the king asshole that's been the asshole that rules everybody for the last 800 years, you know? Imu's backstory will be about love. Yeah, maybe... maybe Imu's got, like, an Obito backstory, but it's just, like... And then he turned so evil that it's just, like, the... What if Imu's, like, the ultimate incel or something like that? That'd be really funny. Yeah. My hopes for Imu are that Imu feels like a really powerful villain that we can really hate. That's my hopes for Imu. Sorry, the stream's going a little bit long, so let me... Man, there's a lot of comments here. Hold on. Damn, okay, let me send a text real quick. Hold on. I am going to try and wrap stream in the next 30 minutes, because it is getting a little bit long, but I'm gonna make sure I get through everybody, including you, Tiptio Treviso. Hold on. Sorry, everybody. Okay, let's keep it moving. All right. Mr. Saturn Lo-Fi, thanks for bringing a Yonko to your mom for 2 months. I'm still hoping for a good Dragon and Garp interaction. These chapters have been amazing, but is there anything special you're still hoping will happen? If there's a Dragon Garp interaction, I think it might happen post God Valley, because an important point of note here is that it seems like Garp gets to see Imu. Here. But Dragon never learns about Imu, because Dragon is still surprised to find out about Imu when Sabo tells him, you know? JP, thanks for the 5. So Dragon was never a notable Marine. That explains a bit about them not knowing his background when he emerged as a revolutionary. Yeah, I think a lot of people thought it would be really, including myself, thought that it would be really cool if Dragon was a former admiral, and some people even said, like, what if Dragon was like his admiral name was like White Dragon or something like that, you know? Like, but I think it's really cool that, as it turns out, the beauty of Dragon, I think Oda's crafted like a beautiful origin story for Dragon. I really love it. I love seeing every panel of Dragon like running as this helpless kid, just like against all odds, just trying to save this one baby, right? He's already 50% failed his mission because he lost one of the babies, but that's okay. I feel like Dragon's gonna be one of my favorite characters in One Piece, you know? What was I saying? Yeah, but I like the fact that he was just a nobody. I think it's cooler that he's a nobody that rose to become the world's most infamous figure, you know? Omarua, thanks for the 5. World's strongest swordsman title, not exist in the past. Morge about to put Mihawk above all Yonko, assuming Oda will show everything Shanks could possibly do in this flashback. Look, I'm not going to be, like, maybe Shanks can do some stuff that Roger and Rox don't show. Like, maybe that's entirely possible, but I'm not going to make that argument anymore if Roger and Rox don't show something outside of swinging swords, okay? Outside of swordsmanship, all right? Like, I'm just not going to make that argument. Like, I'm not so dug into the agenda that I'm like, I need Shanks to be above Mihawk. I'm willing to wait and see. Like, I'm going to go with what the evidence suggests to me as the story goes far. I'm telling you, like, for me, for the longest time, it did seem like Oda gasses up Shanks a lot more. That's why I lean towards, okay, there's probably maybe something that Shanks can do Haki-wise, not swordsmanship, right? If we get down to it and it's like, no, it doesn't seem like there's anything more to Haki, I'm not going to keep going down that argument. I've generally gotten very heated in those discussions because I've just been trying to explain my perspective, not because I'm really dug into like Shanks has to be above Mihawk. It's more like I need people to understand why I feel it's possible that Shanks could be above Mihawk. That's it. And World's Strongest Swordsman not existing in the past. I mean, I already keep in mind, I already have Mihawk, you're saying Mihawk above all Yonko. I already have Mihawk above Kaido and Big Mom. The only Yonko I don't have Mihawk above is Shanks. Okay? I guess Prime Whitebeard either. I don't think Mihawk's above Prime Whitebeard. And Mihawk's comments at Marineford seem to suggest that as well. That Mihawk doesn't think he's above Prime Whitebeard. Okay? Yeah. And World's Strongest Swordsman title not existing in the past. Probably because it wasn't clear cut. Because you've got three characters. In the past, you've got three characters, right? Rox, Harold, Roger, right? Who are all swordsmen. Harold and Rox is a tie, so neither of them could claim that title. I guess Harold is a giant, so you could be technical and be like, well, not the strongest swordsman, but like, I don't think anybody thinks that like when Oda tends to give the title like World's Strongest Swordsman or something like that for Mihawk, I think it's assumed also that he's the strongest sword wielder in general. There's not gonna be like some hidden person in like some fucking nation that's like a fishman or some shit that's like a better sword fighter than Mihawk, because like we understand the implication that comes with that title, right? So like Rox and Harold was a draw. Like Oda hasn't even given us like a World's Strongest Man title for the past, you know? So I think Oda's not trying to make it clear like how certain standings are in the past, you know? Cadmus, thanks for the 2. Emu Dami versus Mihawk, and that's Zoro's final opponent? No, that'd be so disrespectful to Mihawk. I really hope that doesn't happen. King G, thanks for the 2. Ryuma, Sword God, Joy Boy parallels in Wano for a reason. I don't view... Okay. How do people explain this? If you've read Monsters, right? Like, if you've read the one-shot, then you will understand what I say when I'm saying, like, I don't think... Like, if you can look in my past rankings, right? I actually have Ryuma, like, top 3-ish or whatever all time. Recently, I've stopped trying to rank Ryuma because I just feel like it's so speculative, it's ridiculous. And then you gotta understand, I don't view Ryuma and Zoro as interchangeable the way like Luffy and Joy Boy, because if you've read Monsters, you would know that Ryuma's not written like Zoro. He's not like a Zoro parallel. Ryuma's basically like if you fused Luffy and Zoro together. Ryuma's more like if Luffy was a swordsman. The physical, like character design similarities are to Zoro, but I don't view Ryuma as basically being like Oda's version of Zoro in the past necessarily. He's the descendant, but if you look at how Ryuma's actually written, it's more like Oda just writing Luffy as a swordsman than anything else. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't view it as like Zoro will definitely be as strong as however Ryuma was in the past, because it's not a one-to-one character. Like Luffy to Joy Boy, that seems like a one-to-one sort of thing. Like one seems to symbolize the other. Ryuma Zoro, like he's a descendant, but we know in One Piece, like it's not like Shanks is the same as Garling or whatever, right? Shanks we can assume is a bit better than Garling. I think if you read Monsters, you know what I'm talking about. Does that make sense? Like Ryuma is basically like if you have Zoro's rough character design, but the character himself is more like Luffy. Does that make sense? Paul, thanks for the 2. Quit bootlicking Garp. Remember, silence is consent. Garp didn't even know any of this shit beforehand. What the fuck are you talking about? Garp didn't even know any of this shit beforehand, and we don't know what Garp does after this. We need to understand what his story becomes after this, what his perspective becomes, what he tries to change, yada yada. Silence is good. The fuck? You realize that thanks to Garp's influence, the entire, like, the future of the Marines is all good. He saved it. He saved the Marines. Like, once it's, like, we're done with Akainu's time, Green Bull's time, the next in line for the Marines is established to be Kobe. It's established to be Kobe, all these sword figures, all these good guys, right? Garp did it. He did his job. He did his job as far as I'm concerned. I would love to see, like, exactly what his thoughts and perspectives are after this and what his exact actions are, but Garp is already basically, he's singularly responsible for the complete reform of the Marines, because 10 years down the line, the Marines are going to be run by this Garp-inspired generation, which is all good guys. JP, thanks for the 5. I think a lot of people hoped Rock's flashback was going to provide missing pieces to Kaido's character, hoping this isolated cast gives that chance. Missing pieces. Yeah. I think that we're already getting some pieces put together here. Jarence Rambo, thanks for the 2. Do you think Piccolo is the Sanji of Dragon Ball Z? Thoughts? That's funny. I never thought about it like that. I don't think... That's actually really funny. Kinda. He's more cerebral and, like, intelligent than, like, Goku and Vegeta. If you want to say Vegeta's kind of like a Zoro parallel in terms of disposition. That's interesting. I don't think it's supposed to be 1-to-1. Marco Saint, thanks a lot. Confirmed that Garp was unaware of the hunting game. Called it. Next we'll see Garp punch a Celestial Dragon soon. Imagine if it's Emu himself, but then Garp gets fired. So I don't know what possible scenario Garp could fight Emu here and not be, like, he just wouldn't be part of the Marines after that, right? And the fact that Garp is part of the Marines suggests that Garp probably didn't fight Emu. But I'm very curious because it seems like he's not just going to sit still. So I'm really, really curious to see where things go here. I think at this point, like, the fact that I think there's a long-running faction of readers that just, like, wanted to hate Garp because they, like, wanted to ignore all of his actual character writing and just view him by he wears a Marine outfit, therefore he's bad, because they don't want nuanced thinking, right? And the reveal that Garp didn't even know about anything that the Celestial Dragons did, let alone that the Marines were helping them, right? That is like a huge torpedo through that whole anti-Garp agenda, which is now going to lead to like even more like people scrambling and trying to bend over backwards to argue while like, well, but technically Garp is still bad. Like, it's going to blow people's brains up because it's like, wait, we can't hold this against Garp anymore. We still need to find a way to spin that he's bad. It's like, let's see what he does for the rest of God Valley. Let's see, like, his perspectives, yada, yada. Let's wait and see. Like, how about just wait and see before we try and torpedo characters' agendas? Who remembers how much I shit on Dragon in the past? After that whole Sabo newspaper incident. Who remembers how much I shit on Dragon as a character? I shit on him for a long time. Made fun of him in chapter reviews. Made fun of him in streams. I was just like, Dragon's a fucking bum because of this newspaper situation, right? I've come around on the character. I still think the newspaper situation is dumb and that maybe he's a little bit slow. It's possible. I don't think anything has been proven quite yet that Dragon is a mastermind. I need to see what he's doing exactly with his grand plan. But, like, it's okay to change your mind on characters, you know? Fuck it. I used to hate Jarl, and now I think Jarl is one of the funniest characters in Elbaf, you know? Eric says, I mean, he's still a dickhead in Marineford. You gotta go watch my video. I did a whole fucking video called No One Understands Garp or some shit that literally addresses him in Marineford. If you think he's a dickhead in Marineford, then you fundamentally misunderstand what was actually at stake at Marineford. It wasn't just about Ace. Ace was like the trigger that started it, and he's like the symbolic centerpiece of it. But what was actually at stake if the Marines lost there is established to be much bigger than that. The world would have gone to shit if the Marines lose at Marineford. That's established very, very clear. Like, Oda spells it out so many times in so many ways. Like, yes, revolution needs to happen, but it's made clear that it's not just like pirates raiding and destroying the Marines and then running back with their own person. Like, that leads to the whole world going to shit. An actual revolution that leads to change, new government, yada, yada, that's a different story. Oda spells out very, very clearly that bad things happen if the entire Marine force collapses right there. Iro, thanks for the 5. Morge will bring up Zoro versus Kaido, but not Vista versus Mihawk. Vista was able to equal Mihawk's swordsmanship, and Kaido is much stronger than Vista. Look, man, I got the Vista shit. Like, you gotta understand, like, the Vista shit. First of all, I don't forget that. If you go watch Jay's Agenda Reverie, when I do the debate part of Shanks versus Mihawk, Vista is the first shit that I fucking bring up. The Vista shit is part of the reason that I've felt for the longest fucking time that, like, Oda fucking gasses Shanks up to, like, the fucking stars, and he has Mihawk fucking tying with Vista or whatever. How does this, like, what is Oda trying to establish here? What's going on? It's ridiculous. Like, why even do it? Doesn't even fucking make sense. If Mihawk's so far above Vista, like, the excuse that Mihawk wasn't trying doesn't even make sense, because, like, it's established at this point that like strong characters don't even have to try to deal with characters of Vista's level. So look, I'm with you. Like, I think the Vista thing is kind of absurd. But I think that you would agree that the Zoro versus Kaido moment is a much more significant moment that Oda probably put a lot more thought into than having Mihawk and Vista clash on the side in, like, a big war where a million other things are going on, right? I think you would agree that, like, Zoro versus Kaido is probably a more significant moment in the grand scheme of things. And if you really want to get into it, like, you can go down the track record of, like, we know that Mihawk doesn't just duel Vista. Mihawk also duels characters like Shanks, right? And he comes away with the title of the world's strongest swordsman. So I think there's more evidence than not that the Vista thing is supposed to be an anomaly compared to Zoro versus Kaido, which is, by all accounts, it seems to be a significant moment that Oda crafted, that he actually spent a long time in Wano building up to, about, like, no one's been able to scar Kaido, only Odin's been able to scar Kaido, yada yada. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying Oda's going to be super consistent over the course of the story, because he clearly hasn't been. But I do think that when it comes to Kaido, you don't, like, I don't know how much more evidence you need for Kaido versus Mihawk, because it's like Odin, Big Mom, Zoro. Like, I think at a certain point you need to actually make an argument for where Kaido has looked good against a strong swordsman. Like, where, like, I think that needs to be the case if you want to make a case for him against Mihawk. Because, like, you can make excuses for all those examples, but then at a certain point, it's like, okay, well, if you want to argue that none of those things count, then where is your argument? Like, bring me an example of Kaido doing well against a strong swordsman then, you know? Jaren's Rambo, thanks for the 2. Is Big Mom considered a swordsman, though? Oh, my God. Would we agree that Mihawk beats her in a sword fight? How about that? Would we agree that Big Mom beats her in a sword, like, Mihawk beats her in a sword fight? I think that's all that we, like... Do you think Mihawk loses to Big Mom in a sword fight? No? You think Mihawk better than Big Mom in sword fighting? All right. Then Kaido versus Big Mom at least tells us that Mihawk would do better than Big Mom in that scenario. JP, thanks for the 10. Only way I can see Kaido beating Mihawk would be if Kaido kept Future Sight on the whole time. Even Big Mom thought he couldn't afford an Enma attack. He definitely can't afford Mihawk landing blows. Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, maybe Future Sight helps him. We still don't know how Mihawk does with Future Sight. Speculation, but I think Mihawk's probably a really good Future Sight user. But no proof of that just yet. Omaruwa, thanks for the 2. When did attacks get weaker based on users' health? What? Since forever? I don't even know how to address that. I mean, it's true in One Piece that lots of times characters, when they're at very, very low health, do put out their strongest attacks. So, you know, that is a fair argument. But at the same time, like, do you really want to say that, like, Zoro was in his, like, Zoro couldn't do better if his bones were in, you know, healthy state? Would you at least agree that Zoro was handicapped in that situation, right? Like, if you go through the story, right, like, even all the way back to, like, Zoro versus Hachi, it's made clear that Zoro can't fight Hachi to the best of his ability because he is severely wounded and injured. Same with against Arlong, right? So, like, you know, like, same as fucking Whitebeard at Marineford. It's made clear that Squardo, being injured by Squardo, that is a handicap, right? I would agree that characters can pull out, like, some of their best moves even when they're, like, physically very damaged, because it's One Piece, so, like, willpower allows them to trump that. But I would say that that's, like, to an extent, right? Because we know now that Zoro should have been, like, when Zoro scarred Kaido, we now know that he should have been literally in a full body cast. So I think that's not quite the same at that point, right? Like, that's basically you could pretty much Photoshop in Zoro in a full body cast doing that to Kaido. Because he didn't take any further damage after that. So it's like Zoro should literally be in a full body cast at this moment in time when he's doing that to Kaido. So I get that you can say like, well, there's cases like Luffy doing Jet Gatling against Lucci or like Goma Goma Storm against Crocodile. No, he wasn't at full health. But that's a case where like Law is literally saying that Zoro's bones are fucking broken right now when he's doing this to Kaido. Like he doesn't have like fucking like functioning bones, you know? Like they're in fucking pieces basically. So at a certain point you have to be like, well, there's lots of points in the story where it's pointed out that a character being in poor health does affect their performance, you know? And I think a full body cast is probably, I think it's pretty disingenuous to argue that a character that is supposed to be in a full body cast at that moment is performing at full capacity, right? Like, I think that takes a lot of bias, personally. Isaac St. Charles, thanks a lot. When you watch Better Call Saul after Breaking Bad, you'll feel like Walter White shouldn't exist. I feel that about Luffy now after seeing Shanks and Blackbeard's side panel. I've heard that Better Call Saul is a much more, like, nuanced, dramatic, like deeper, like more like whereas Breaking Bad is great character writing and everything, but it's more it's still more like of an actiony like crime drama plot with like crazy twists and things like that. And I've heard Better Call Saul is more of like a grounded story, so I guess maybe that's where you're getting at. But I think, you know, I know there's lots of times in the story that people are like, I like focusing on these side characters more than Luffy, but usually once we come back around to Luffy and the Straw Hats, people are still happy, you know? Chris, thanks for the 10. Hashtag Kobe killing Luffy. Kobe will be known as killing the Pirate King. The Pirate King is scary to civilians and would be infamous to pirates/marines who'd hurt him. Luffy doesn't want the reality of being Pirate King. He wants to be free. Okay, you're continuing on. There's freedom in... There's too many symbols, dude. I'm sorry, I'm not fully understanding. There's freedom in death. Why Kobe and Luffy become friends. Kobe willing to die for his dream like Luffy. Kobe punched the Pirate King crown off Luffy. Luffy will live on as Joy Boy to fulfill his dream. I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot, man. That's a lot, man. I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot. Also, I really appreciate all of the support this stream. This has been an amazing stream, but please no more supers from here because I am trying to wrap up stream from here on. So I really appreciate it. Please no more supers. Yeah, I'm trying to get through the last batch. I really appreciate it. Stormy says, holy more, just still so behind. I'm getting there. D-Man X11X, thanks for the 5. Rocks is so impressive. It's starting to feel like Blackbeard can't live up to him. Even with the third Devil Fruit, he'd still be less impressive. I think let's give Blackbeard some time and space. Plus, I do think that there's some other soul inside Blackbeard that's been implied. So, let's wait and see what Blackbeard can do. I do think that Blackbeard right now is nowhere close to Rocks in terms of strength. Elias Taveras, thanks for the 5. I'm sorry, but your Garp glazing is out of hand. He can make the Marines better, but the Marines are subordinates to Emu and are complicit in evil. Just wait for next Tuesday's video. I'm tired of going through all this like over and over. Tired of going through all this. Yeah, just wait for next Tuesday's video. Maybe you'll change your mind then. It's not about Garp, but Garp is part of it. It's actually a very comprehensive video that talks about the whole range of characters at God Valley. And my 298, thanks for the 5. Twitter has been flaming Garling, calling him a fraud because Rock spanked him, lol. You agree with that? How do I say this? So there's a fraud in terms of the... I guess you could say in terms of like aura and hype and stuff like that, Garling was just made to look very fraudulent in that area. He looks like a bum. A fraud in terms of strength, I think there's no way to determine that off of one fight with Rocks, because Rocks is probably the strongest character in the world right now outside of Emu, and I guess tied with Herald. And Rocks is just Pirate King level. I personally feel like readers have always underestimated what Pirate King level means, okay? I think Garling could literally be like Yonko level, and Rocks could still do that to him. That's my opinion, okay? I think people might really disagree, because the Yonko have been built up as like the peak of the One Piece world, but they're the peak of the One Piece world that we've seen today, and I think the level was just built up to be higher in the past. Prime Whitebeard, Prime Roger, Prime Rocks, etc., okay? I think the story is about the characters of today getting back to that level and then surpassing it, but I don't think characters are there yet. Yeah, so to me, I think Garling isn't a true fraud until we see him against some other characters, and then we get a better idea. But against Rocks, it's just like, it's fucking Rocks. Like, that's just a dude on a different level. I've never thought that Garling is equal to Rocks. Or not even equal to Rocks. I don't think Garling is in Rocks' tier, and I never thought that. Tempo, thanks for joining the Yonko. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the podcast, weekly podcasts that come out with every Tuesday video. Really appreciate it, man. All right. Let's start powering through. Chris, thanks for the 5. There's a difference between understanding and caring. I understand Marineford, Luffy less than Admirals. I don't care how much or which Admiral is stronger. That's just such a weak point because, like, the emotions that you feel in given scenarios, right? The emotions that you feel are predicated on, whether you like it or not, your subconscious ability to power scale. You feel fear for Luffy in that situation. You feel excitement for Luffy, or you feel excitement reading that situation because you know this character is out of his depth, because you know that those characters in front of him are a lot stronger. If you're saying you don't care which Admiral is stronger, then you can say that, like, okay, well, you don't care about the exact nitty-gritty of power scaling or whatever, but you do care. Like, the entire reason you care about any situation that our hero is faced with a challenge, and you intuitively understand how significant of a challenge is in front of them, is because, whether you like it or not, your brain likes power scaling. Your brain cares about it. Your brain registers it, and your brain is doing it subconsciously. And that's a big part of the reason that you're invested in this story. That's just the reality. I don't know why people are so pretentious as to pretend that, like, One Piece isn't a fucking kids shonen battle manga. Does it also have great thematic writing, like phenomenal thematic writing, phenomenal world building, character writing, all of that as well? Yes, it can have both. We can talk about both. We can talk about all of that. But you do care about power scaling because you understand basic shit in One Piece. You understand what it feels like for Luffy when he's in front of those admirals, and that gives you a sense of excitement. Omarwa, thanks for the 10. Power scaling sins. I've seen people pretend every top tier at Marineford half-assed the war in order to make their internal power scaling work, aka crocodile showing in. It's a cancer in the community. Yeah, it's the thing. It's just like people will come up with so much in One Piece just to discount this or that. And, like, part of it is true, because, like, part of it is, like, yeah, this character was handicapped here. Maybe this character couldn't do this here or something like that. But, like, you see people go so far and just, like, any situation that comes up where they're, like, they just don't like, or they feel like it doesn't fit their preconceived feelings, they will twist it. And they'll be like, there's some reason or the other why this just does not count, And it'll be often a reason that's, like, not implied or directly contradicted by the narrative. The Lowman, thanks for the 2. Oda essentially said Sengoku is on Roger's tier. Yeah, that never happened. That literally never happened. That's crazy. Mr. Diamond, thanks for the 2. It looks like... I don't even know how to address that, because that's obviously not what Roger said. Mr. Diamond, thanks for the 2. It looks like Whitebeard and Kaido are Zebek's wings, lol. It looks like it in that panel, but I think, logically speaking, obviously, Kaido's still a few rungs down. I think in previous scenarios, it looked like Whitebeard and Shiki are Rox's wings, but Oda does want to flex Kaido in this scenario, because Kaido's the much more significant character in the long term. I do want to give, go back to the previous stream that we did of, like, God Valley character rankings. I was pushing, Kaido up the list. I was like, I think Kaido is being presented as stronger than people think in God Valley so far, but people were like, no, that doesn't mean anything. I was like, no, I think Oda's doing something. I think there's a reason that Oda's presenting us Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, Shiki as a group and being more significant than the other Rocks pirates, and people are like, no, Morge, Silver Axe. It's like, you seen Silver Axe's chapter? You seen what's happening to him? You see how Oda's presenting Kaido? I think portrayal does matter, Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. Emu may be more like a force of nature like Sauron. I don't think that's the case. I think Emu is like a petty, nasty-ass person that just gained a lot of power, likely through a fruit. Mono21, thanks for the 5. You missed my point, Morge. Never said Ashura isn't swordsmanship. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. But if Roger/Rock show nothing new, you can't handweight Ashura as just coding? I guess. But I think we would need to see the connective piece of Ashura being used for something that would be outside of swordsmanship, right? Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Clay Music Off, thanks for the 5. God's Knights are weak because they never went out to sea. They are spoiled brats only steering through Emu. I don't get all this. The God's Knights aren't weak. They're stronger than most of the Straw Hats. Like, they're stronger than most Yonko commanders. They're just weak compared to the strongest characters of all time. I'm so baffled by this, man. We already saw the God's Knights in Elbaf. The God's Knights are fucking strong. They're significant, like... From what we've seen, the God's Knights at Elbaf would pose a significant challenge for even Zoro and Sanji right now, as far as we can tell. They're not going to do that well at fucking God Valley. It's a different level there. I think people are, like, reversing their scaling of the God's Knights from Elbaf because they're seeing, like, the strongest characters of all time tear through them. But if you remember back in Elbaf, after, like, Gunko destroyed the Straw Hats... and, like, Killingham's army and everything like that, and even Somers versus Saul and Robin, like, people were like, oh, shit. Like, people were excited about, like, can Sanji beat Somers? People were excited about that matchup. It was like, is Gunko stronger than Zoro? We don't know. That stuff doesn't go away just because you saw fucking, like, Whitebeard tear through the God's Knights or fucking Rock staring through the God's Knights. It's, like, leagues apart. The Lowman! Message retracted. Thanks, though, man. Clay Music Off, thanks for the 2. What specifically is so good about his teachings? What? What specifically is so good about his teachings? I don't even know how to fucking answer that. Have you seen the new generation of Marines? Who do you think, like, who fucking trained Kobe? Who is Kobe's mentor? Who did Kobe base his entire concept of being a good Marine after? I don't even know what the fuck? I literally don't understand. Why the lens to try to discredit Garp, a character that Oda clearly is trying to establish for us is a good character? I literally don't understand. Why are you so obsessed with trying to say that despite Oda trying to establish so much good about this character, I just want to believe he sucks? I don't get it. Marco Saint, thanks a lot. Imagine Dragon is just as simple-minded and stupid as Luffy and Garp, LMAO. I don't think that's the case. Just based on the fact that Dragon has had internal monologues that are clearly a lot deeper, I think that's probably not going to be the case. Also, another prediction, Garp will be crucial in putting a stop to the hunting games post-God Valley. I'm going to be honest, I think that, like, while it would be cool for Garp to be involved in that, I think the Celestial Dragons themselves would probably just realize it's not a smart idea for them to do the hunting games, considering they were all almost wiped out, right? Like, it's just dangerous for Celestial Dragons to come down to the Blue Seas when there's so many powerful pirates in the world that could attack them there. And, like, as we've seen, against the strongest pirates, the God's Knights are not going to be able to hold up. Do you think Emu wants to have to come down and fight every time a fucking God Valley or, like, hunting competition goes wrong? I'm pretty sure, like, Emu would just be like, all right, we're not doing this shit anymore. Because, like, he doesn't, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, nearly all the Celestial Dragons just died right here, right? I don't think it will take a lot of persuasion for them to be like, we don't want to go to these hunting competitions anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it takes a lot of persuasion or something like that. Or hell, maybe they're still doing it. But I think it's just kind of like, yeah, this was a fucking disaster. This could have been the end of the Celestial Dragons, you know? The Lowman, thanks to the 5. Kobe said that he needs to become an Admiral to challenge Luffy as Pirate King. Admirals and Yonko aren't that far off from Pirate King level. Do you think Kobe's going to be equal to the other Admirals or maybe a lot stronger? End of story. Like, down the line. Admiral is just the highest rank that you can have as a Marine. I guess Fleet Admiral. But that's more so just Kobe basically saying that he needs to reach the highest level of which you can be as a Marine, right? That doesn't mean that every Admiral is equal or that Kobe's ceiling is basically like Kizaru or something. No disrespect to Kizaru, but I think most people would agree that Kizaru isn't Pirate King level. Endercraft 7393, thanks for the 2. Vista only exists to torpedo Mihawk agenda. Rihanazar, thanks for the 10. Can you say your stance on Admiral versus Yonko power levels? Because it's hard. I agree Kizaru is mentally nerfed at Egghead, but at the same time, I just cannot see Kizaru at 100% beating Kaido 1v1. I don't think Kizaru at 100% beats Kaido 1v1. I think it's still a hard fight for Kizaru. Like, I think Kizaru is a significant opponent for Kaido. My stance, and I think we have to wait to the final war to get better clarity, is I think, keep in mind, when I say Yonko level, okay, I'm not referring to Buggy. I'm not referring to Blackbeard. To me, Yonko level means characters with advanced Conqueror's Haki who, if they fight each other, the skies are split, okay? That is what Yonko level means to me, okay? So, I think, like, I personally think that Admirals are a step below that, because I think Haki transcends all. I think Admirals don't have advanced Conqueror's Haki, and I think that's basically the long and short of it. I don't think anything the story has suggested otherwise, that advanced Conqueror's Haki is like, it trumps Devil Fruits at the end of the day, and Admirals don't have it, okay? I think someone like Akainu might have awakened Conqueror's Haki post-time skip, and therefore might now be Yonko level. But I think if Akainu is the same as he was pre-time skip, which is basically equal to Aokiji, then I don't think that he's Yonko level. Okay? Yeah, but I don't think the gap is, like, big. I think the gap is, like, very close, you know? Yeah. That's my stance. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just how I view it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it's a huge deal. I'm fine to walk it back, but you know, I just can't read the Shanks Green Bull scene and think like, yeah, these two are supposed to be in the same tier. And like a lot of it's author's intent. Like, even if you want to argue a lot, like, oh no, this is why Green Bull was shown like this is why he reacted like this and stuff. It's like Green Bull's not a real person. He's a character made up by a person, like a real person, Oda. And when an author writes a scene portraying this or that, the author knows who's stronger, and he knows the type of feeling that he's trying to get across. Green Bull is not a real human being. This is a depiction of author intent. If you read the Shanks and Green Bull scene, and you come away with it feeling like Oda's intent is that these characters are supposed to come across as equal, I feel like that's disingenuous. I just feel like you can't, in good faith, read that scene and be like, I think the author wants us to believe that these two characters are the same, and that there's no difference, and that I don't think Oda's trying to portray either of these characters as better than the other. I don't think that's the case, you know? And if you want to be like, well, Green Bull's just like an anomaly among the Admirals, he's weaker. It's like, okay, well, Green Bull fought Fujitora, and that was implied to be a tie. You know? And it's like, okay, well, Green Bull and Fujitora, they don't count. They're new Admirals. It's like, well, how long do we want to do this, man? Like, you know, like, what counts as Admiral level? I don't know. Maybe the Admirals are shown to be stronger than we expect. End of story. Maybe Logia Awakening totally changes the game. I'm just saying what I've seen so far. I think there might be a gap. I don't think it's a big gap, but that's just all I got. Marco Saint, thanks a lot. You can't tell me what to do. You're right, I can't. I appreciate the support, man. Chris, thanks for the 5. Another one. Oh, my God. Thanks, guys, but I'm going to be trying to wrap it up soon. Thank you very, very much for the support. This is a crazy stream. Leo, thanks for the 5. And Taptio Treviso, I'm going to get to you last, so give me a second. Leo, thanks for the 5. If Garp is in his own category, then why would Roger want to fight Sengoku? Oda's notes for game character. He can compete with Garp, Sengoku, Whitebeard, Roger. For game character? Oda's notes for game character? I don't even know what that means, Oda's notes for game character. He can compete with Garp, Sengoku, Whitebeard, Roger. Why would Roger want to fight Sengoku? Because I'm not saying Sengoku's like a bum compared to Roger. Sengoku could maybe give him a nice workout. That doesn't mean that it's going to be like an extreme diff fight. Is there anything that we've seen from the flashbacks so far? Like, how do I say this? It's already confirmed that Sengoku is not one of the strongest characters on the ocean. It's the narrator confirmed it. Like, forget Roger, the narrator confirmed it. Because the narrator said that all the strongest fighters on the ocean are at God Valley. Which means if you're not at God Valley, you are not one of the strongest. It's actually very, very black and white. The narrator confirmed it, so there's no further discussion. The fact that Roger wanted to fight Sengoku suggests that maybe Sengoku's stronger than the average admiral, But I think Roger also spanks the average Admiral. So, like, maybe, Rox fought Garling. Rox was huffing and puffing a little bit at the end. He was going huff, huff. So it's like a bit of a workout for him, but it's not hard. I think that's how Roger versus Sengoku would go. It's a nice little challenge. It's not like it's going to be like, he's not just going to, like, zero diff him. But Roger's like, yeah, the only Marines that are, like, going to make me sweat, Garp, Sengoku. Garp, extreme diff fight. Sengoku, a cute little fight. That's pretty much it. Continuing on. The Lowman thanks the 2. Shanks off-guarded Green Bull. Well, that actually supports the fact that Shanks is greater than Green Bull. I can't tell. The Lowman, I can't tell if you're just trying to trigger me or not at a certain point. But that actually supports Shanks over Green Bull. Because Green Bull shit himself. He's shown, essentially shitting himself, just from the strength of the Haki alone. So Green Bull doesn't even know that it's Shanks, right? So there's no prior bias. Green Bull's not like, oh my god, a Yonko's here and I can't fight a whole Yonko crew or anything like that. No. Green Bull just feels an anonymous Haki that is so strong that he shits himself. Right? So if anything, there's no excuse there. Because Green Bull, without even knowing it's Shanks, realizes that he's fucked. Right off the bat. And then Green Bull registers, oh, it's Shanks and the red-haired pirates. I'm done. I'm out of here. Right? But even anonymously, Green Bull shit himself. So, I mean, that just helps the argument. What does off-guarded mean? Like, is that what you're saying? Like, you're saying off-guarded as in, like, Green Bull didn't know it was Shanks or something? Or are you saying, what is off-guarded? Did Shanks release an attack on Green? I don't actually know what what is off-guarded. Did Shanks throw an attack at Green Bull? Anyway. So Shanks beat Odin fair and square then? I mean, Kaido attacked Odin. Did Shanks hit Green Bull? I think I must have missed a panel. All right, Tapio Treviso. Let's see what you got. Clay music off. Thanks for the 2. Kobe was always kind and ambitious. Kobe was always kind and ambitious? No, Kobe wasn't always ambitious. If anything, Luffy had to get him. That's the whole fucking point. Kobe had no ambition. Luffy brought that out of him, right? So that's also not true. Yeah, Kobe was always kind, but who's the one that's fostered Kobe to become... Who is the one that's fostered Kobe to become the version of himself that he is today? Like, tell me that. You look at Kobe at the end of pre-time skip, and you look at Kobe at the start of pre-time skip, and you tell me that they're the same person. I don't even know what to say. Like, this is just such a reach. The desire to hate Garp so much is such a reach, it's crazy. Like, now you're going like, well, Garp had no influence on Kobe. Garp's not a huge reason that Kobe is the hero of the Marines that he is today. What the fuck? Omarwa, thanks for the 2. Green Bull admits he only came because Kaido was dead. I don't read too much into that because there's multiple factors there. Marines are not allowed to just go declare war on the Yonko on their own. So that's already established. Like, that's a big... Like, Green Bull is legally not allowed to go fight Kaido, right? That's number 1. But 2, Kaido also has a whole empire underneath him, right? Kaido has a whole empire underneath him, which means that Kaido... Like... It's a lot more than just taking on Kaido. And the thing is that if you want to take that Green Bull statement about Kaido, then you also have to take the Kizaru one, right? So that balances out the Admiral agenda. Because Kizaru was like, well, I'm going to go fight Kaido and Big Mom at the same time. And the only reason Akainu said no was because of the samurai of Wano, not because of Kaido himself or Big Mom. So it's kind of like that balances out. It's like, well, Green Bull was scared of Kaido. It's like, okay, but Kizaru wasn't. He was just like, I'll fight Kaido and Big Mom together and their whole crews or whatever. So I don't go too much by that. I do go by Green Bull's reaction to Shanks because Green Bull reacted like that before he knew it was Shanks and before he realized that the entire red-haired pirates were there. Green Bull just reacted and was like, this Haki is freaking me the fuck out. This Haki's on another level. It's like the most pure blind control test possible, which is just like Green Bull, blind, no knowledge, senses that Haki, shits himself on the spot. So to me, that's pretty definitive. Yeah. Ibrahim, thanks for the 5. When it comes to End of Story Zoro, how do you think Ryuma plays into that? Oda seems to want Zoro to surpass him. I don't think that's the case. I just, again, like, if you go back and read Monsters, and no more supers after this. No more supers after this. If anybody sends a super after this, I'm not responding, because I do have to wrap up stream. If you go back and read Monsters, Ryuma's more like Luffy than Zoro. He's really not written like Zoro at all, outside of using the sword. Ryuma is written like Luffy with a sword. It's just, I try not to read too much. Like, I know the characters that Zoro is basically like, the clear parallels in modern day for Zoro are like, Mihawk, that's who Zoro needs to surpass. Like, I'm confident Zoro needs to surpass Mihawk, because that's obvious in the story. Rayleigh, obviously Zoro needs to surpass Rayleigh, because Rayleigh was like Roger's first mate. Zoro should be stronger than that, end of story, right? Ryuma is its own thing, because Ryuma is literally a former Oda protagonist that's more like a swordsman version of Luffy than Zoro. Oda took the design and, like, he made Zoro the descendant of Ryuma, but again, if you just read Monsters, then you know what I mean. It does, like, even when Oda's comparing Ryuma to Joy Boy and stuff, it's kind of like he's comparing Luffy to Luffy. He's comparing Swordsman Luffy to Joy Boy Luffy. Does that make sense? So I try not to read, like, maybe Oda's idea is that, like, Zoro needs to surpass Ryuma or whatever, but I don't feel confident in that assessment, because the Ryuma character itself is more so a prototype Luffy than it is a prototype Zoro. This is kind of, okay, I said no more supers, and the last one's a fucking Kobe one. Clay changed time skip because of Marineford. What did I say? Did I even say, I said start of story Kobe to end a pre-time skip Kobe, right? The Kobe that meets Luffy at, the Kobe that meets Luffy at the end of Enies Lobby, right? Like, Kobe when we see him, when he says goodbye to Luffy, and Kobe when we see him again. Like, the growth of Kobe as a character, that's all fucking Garp. I don't even know what to... Okay, that's it. No more supers, especially because it's just becoming so... Like, you're just grasping at straws at this point. To be like, I need to find some way to discredit Garp inspiring the future of the Marines. It's like, Oda's trying to establish that Garp is a great fucking character, and Garp, like, what the fuck? Like, Oda's putting in a lot of effort to establish why Garp is a great character. I don't know why readers are trying to push this out-of-story agenda that, like, no, Garp secretly sucks, and that's the message of the story. The fuck? Alright. Finally, we have Tiptio Treviso. But we do have one more thing before that. I just want to shout out for the people, because the people are all very curious. I know how curious you guys are about what's going on behind me. And what's going on behind me is this beautiful new collection of posters. All of the major ships of One Piece and all of their crews as well. So you can actually click into the crews, and then you'll see the members of said ship on that cruise. So we can click into this. We see Dragon. We see Ivankov. We see Sabo. Of course, we can go to the Going Merry. And we see... Oh, shoot. I can't even click into this. Okay, so the Going Merry, by the way, is locked under a buy two, get two. The first 30 people who get this deal, you buy two posters, you get 2 posters free. You also get a third poster free, which is the Going Merry, which is exclusive. It is possible... That's only for the first 30 people who jump on this deal. We were almost tapped out on this deal as of yesterday, so I don't actually know, but I think you can possibly still get this deal as of today. You go check it out. But the buy two, get two stands as is. It's just the Going Merry that only goes to the first 30 people. So if you like these posters, if you like your favorite crew, maybe it's the red-haired pirates. So you got Shanks, you got Ben Beckman, you got Lucky Roo, you got Yasop up here. Or maybe you just like, we've been talking about it a lot. Maybe you just like Mihawk. And Mihawk's a solo ship. You can get that too. And if you want to get 4, you can buy 2, get 2 free. And you'll get the Going Merry if you're part of the first 30, which might have already run out, but I'm not sure. Try and jump on it while you can. We got Blackbeard, we got Shiri, we got Burgess. So yeah, the most iconic ships in One Piece and their crews. Make sure you jump on this collection. And yeah, we got the great deal going of buy 2, get 2, plus the Going Merry. So everybody make sure to go check that out. And finally, we got Taptio Treviso. Taptio Treviso said, you had several videos about Luffy's Haki bloom coming from an event in battle. The whole Shanks versus Kid battle simply establishing that future sight purpose was to allow for a dramatic moment where Luffy sees a death of a loved one and needs to bloom his Conqueror Haki to become on the level of Joy Boy and Roger. Yeah, so you're referencing a video that I put out in the past, which is like Shanks just showed us the key to the top tier of Conqueror Haki, and I do believe that one day Luffy will have a future sight vision of his crew being hurt, just like Shanks saw when he fought Kid, and that will cause Luffy's final Conqueror Haki bloom. You said that Blackbeard would be the villain to fit the task the most, since I thought that it would come down to Blackbeard and Devil Fruits versus Luffy's Haki. But as a Blackbeard fan, I never thought that was his narrative role to simply being the final Haki stepping stone for Luffy. But I think there is an antagonist who fits that description better. Akainu. Interesting point. He is the villain who Luffy's greatest failing, being unable to save Ace due to himself being too weak, and in Marineford, that was the arc where Luffy used Future Sight the first time to stop himself from losing his arms to Mihawk. Interesting, so Haki bloom there. You also talk a lot about Sabo having a potential role in him being the only one who Luffy saves from Akainu as his redemption moment from his failure to save Ace. Especially since Akainu is the character who should not just be Admiral level, but... Okay, so the rest of what you said is actually cut off because you have an image that you posted here as well, I think by accident, so I can't see exactly what you're saying. I don't even know how to share this. Okay, hold on. So Taptio Treviso, I don't know how to... Okay, here, let me show you this. So this is what I see here. So the rest of what you're trying to tell me is actually cut off. So I'm sorry about that. So I'm just going to wing it based on what I think you're getting at, okay? So Luffy having his moment of Haki awakening, being against Akainu, and I personally think that it could be... I've talked about this in the past. I think it could be Luffy having to save Sabo from Akainu, so replaying the events of Marineford, but this time with Luffy actually successfully being the one to save his brother, and thereby completing the whole story arc, because like Luffy in his childhood, he was the younger, weak little brother that always had to be protected by his older brothers, and the story coming full circle I sent 3 images? Oh my god. Okay, hold on, let me go back. He sent 3 images? Oh, my bad. Okay, 3 images. Okay, so there's 2 more. Villain with the greatest failing. Also talk about Sabo having a potential role in him being the one Luffy saves from Akainu as a redemption moment for his failure to save Ace. Okay, so I'm along those lines. Especially since Akainu is the character who should not just be Admiral level, but closer to Yonko. Yeah, because I think Akainu will potentially get a Haki bloom. It makes me imagine where Luffy fights Akainu in the final saga before Blackbeard or Imu. I think so too. Akainu is stronger than Luffy due to awakening Advanced Conqueror Haki. Actually, this is exactly how I think things will go. I do think Akainu awakens Advanced Conqueror Haki. That puts him at like at least Yonko level or whatever. Makes him a fitting next opponent for Luffy. And Akainu's will being glazed by Oda. Yeah, 5 billion berry bounty, ends One Piece in a year of protagonist. Yep, I agree. That seems like that makes everything line up in place to more if Akainu was the stepping stone for Luffy getting a dramatic moment where he sees Sabo die to Akainu, Magma Fist, and boom, that's how he gets into Roger and Joy Boy's Haki level. It's to save him and makes Akainu's role in the final saga a memorable moment. This all hinges on him getting Advanced Conqueror Haki and being stronger than Luffy, which I still hold on to because him losing to Sabo or Kuzan doesn't fit for the build-up he has for Luffy's journey. I agree with that as well. I think Akainu is more important than just like going down to Sabo or Kuzan. I think Akainu's story has been written to be very, very closely tied to Luffy's. Akainu literally scarred Luffy for life, right? Like literally Luffy's big symbolic X on his chest, that's Akainu. Like Akainu permanently marked him. And we know that usually in One Piece, characters that leave scars on one another, that's a setup for a future showdown. Like Mihawk scarred Zoro, future rematch. Blackbeard scarred Shanks, future rematch. Akainu scarred Luffy, future rematch in my mind. Also allows Luffy versus Emu or Blackbeard to be more than just waiting to see Luffy's Haki bloom. That's a really good point too. If you still think it'll be Blackbeard or even Emu where this happens, but the dots I'm seeing points to a picture that fits, makes a lot more narrative sense than scenarios about Luffy's final fights in the saga before. I actually really, really strongly agree with everything you just said. I did think for a long time that Blackbeard would be the one, but I think everything that you just painted is a stronger narrative. I think that's really, really interesting. I think that's a really, really interesting narrative. Like Akainu being the villain that Luffy has to awaken Haki against. Just because I also agree with the concept that Akainu, I feel like when Luffy faces Akainu again, because I do think Luffy will face Akainu again, I think it'll be more serious. I don't think it'll be a Gear 5 haha silly type fight. So a big Conqueror's Haki explosion from Luffy seeing Akainu hurting, someone he loves, just like what happened with Ace, would really bring Luffy's full character arc from Marineford full circle and establish the growth of the same moment. Like, growth is... What is growth? Growth is meeting the same challenge that you previously failed against before, but this time succeeding, right? I think that'd be a really, really powerful and dramatic way to do it. I think it all really works if Akainu has become more powerful. I think Akainu getting Conqueror's Haki does fit his character, and I do think that that's something that, if it hasn't already bloomed for him against Aokiji, I think it would bloom for him post-time skip. So yeah, great stuff. I like that a lot, man. I think that's a great idea. I'm glad that we saved that for last, and I'm glad that you're able to get that out there. Yeah, man, because I'm always partial to theories that already paint out a lot of what I personally buy into, but then introduce a new perspective to me that I hadn't thought before. Because I have thought for a long time that Luffy will get a big Conqueror's Haki moment where he needs to save, I assumed, his crew, and I thought it might be against Blackbeard. But saving instead his brother against Akainu, that could be so perfect because it brings things full circle to the first time that Luffy really, really failed, which was losing his brother to Akainu. So great stuff, man. And with that, amazing stream, everybody. This was a crazy, crazy big stream. And with that, I really appreciate it. Love this chapter. And I hope you guys look forward to next Tuesday's video, which will be a very comprehensive video. And yeah, with that,